Hey guys, and welcome to the Ask Aviator podcast, episode number 13. It's a really beautiful, glorious day here in Central Florida. Thunderstorms, gust fronts, almost hail, and somehow a bird poop what looked like wine juice all over my car. It's a great day to be alive. I'm ecstatic. This is episode number 13, which means that we had to bring someone special on. So I'd like you all to meet my friend. He's a bit dense, but we're going to keep him here, and we're going to do our very best to have the best conversation ever with him. So anyway, guys, we do have a great show. We've got a lot of people in the chat right now. We got 111 of you guys talking to us live. If you're not watching this live, you're listening on a podcast format. We do this every Tuesday night, and it's usually between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m., somewhere in that range. You can follow our Facebook page at facebook.com/aviatorppg or Instagram at the same, and you can find out anything you'd like to know about what we're doing here. Actually, Instagram's Aviator Paramotor. We're a little slow. So, you guys can find out who our guests are. So not all of you think it's Tucker Gott, because I hate to break it to you guys, but it's not Tucker. Tucker's at home. Tucker will be on the show eventually, I'm sure. I'm going to take a few minutes to say hello to a whole bunch of people, and then we're going to bring our guest in, hear a little bit more about who he is, what he's about, and then we'll answer a crap ton of your questions, because this guy who I'm bringing in is quite possibly the most knowledgeable beginner-mediate pilot in the history of mankind, and one of the most helpful you'll ever meet. So really quick, big thank you to Lucien Sims, Parker Awesome, Bob Garber, Brandon Hughes, Jeannot Gauthier, Alejandra Diaz, Skyflux, and of course to our good friends at Fly My PPG, the entire class right there. 6 new students watching the Aviator podcast for the first time. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for putting your trust in the incredible guys up there at Fly My. I'm actually intensely jealous that you're there right now because, A, the weather is better, and more than that, no question whatsoever, it is got to be the most beautiful place, or one of the most beautiful places I've ever flown. Those lavender fields and the mint fields flying over them, it feels like freaking heaven. Ernie DeVletter, good to see you, my friend. Look at the helmet. Can you offer the lower-end helmet with the aviation rather than 2-meter radio? Yes, apparently we can. I got a thumbs up from behind the camera. Nina says yes. So email us, Ernie, and we'll find out for you. How's that? Timothy McLean, good to see you. Sasha, good to see you as well. Fool's Hill, great to have you. Patrick Eyeball, always a pleasure. Patrick Ryan, you got your Maverick today, putting it together now. When are the wings getting in? I don't know when your wings getting in, but we have a bunch of wings coming in every day right now, which is a good feeling. John Petru says we need an alliance school in Manitoba, Canada. We actually have been talking to some folks in Canada about putting together an alliance-type program. The challenge we have is that your government requires you to do so many things, including getting your private pilot's license in order to fly a paramotor, so it's a little more challenging to work things in. This week, for show, Anthony Vela, good to see you, brother man. Victoria Bowen Bunch, great to see you. Jeff Booth, a pleasure. Jeff Stang, I saw you in here earlier as well. Resnack, welcome. Guys, we have a great show on tap for us today, and I'm really, really thankful that you're all here. So if you guys are kind of building up questions, we want them. Go ahead and send them in. Nina will collect them for them, collate them, and make sure that we get the best ones answered possible. And we will do our very best to get through all of it. Craig Taylor asked, did y'all get a canvas for your entry or the school wall? Craig, I got your canvas, and it took me about 2 days to figure out who it was. I figured it out last night, and I tried to hang it, but I have not been able to put all the hardware in yet. Thank you so much, man. That's really cool. It's actually going to go in the bathroom, so every time someone's sitting in the toilet, they can think of you. I felt like that was a really appropriate thing to do. But anyway, guys, I'm going to answer a whole bunch of questions here in a minute. But first, I want to introduce my guest. This guy, if you're on Reddit, he needs no introduction. I started following the Paramotor subreddit a couple of years ago, kind of off and on. I'm not a very good Redditor. I think something about being the CEO of a company where you, as much as you want to be able to do everything and keep up with all the social media, it's just too much. However, unlike the Facebook Paramotor group and a lot of other groups that focus on paramotor-related stuff, the Reddit Paramotor group is generally low on trolls, high on help, and there are actually some guys in there who aren't super brand loyalists. They're honest. They give great feedback. And there was one guy who stood out to me from the time I started reading this Reddit forum, and I got to say, over the last few months, it became more and more clear that he knew what he was talking about, and he really had a servant's heart. He wanted to share his experience and to create a better community there. And I guess about a month ago, he made a mod in that forum. It was just him and Woody, and my marketing manager, John, who you guys just saw in his beautiful 190-pound shirt, he said, Eric, what would you think if we flew this guy down here? I want to get him on the show. I think he's a great representation of the sport. I think he's a really gracious guy. I think it'd be really cool to get him on the stream. And I said, dude, I don't know who this guy is. I know him by Karma Commando. I don't know if he's like a 47-year-old, 300-pound guy in his parents' basement, or if he's like a 16-year-old girl. I have no idea. I said, you can ask, but let's make sure it's not creepy. So John, of course, made it creepy. But this guy, Karma Commando, whose actual name is Will, said yes. And so a couple weeks later, here he is. He came down here Friday. John went up, picked him up at the airport. He's been spent the last, 4 days with us here, getting to experience our first days of class, get to showcase kind of what our school's all about. Excuse me. What all the instructors are like, what the students are like, and he's gotten to fly a whole bunch. So I'm going to welcome Will onto the stream. Come on, Will. Come on. You're allowed. And let you guys get to know this 16-year-old, 19-year-old boy. Yes. So, Will, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What's going on, guys?
To talk,
Not
slide
Tucker
up
here.
Slide up to the mic a little bit. There you go. Just kind of into it.
Awesome.
Be a part
Got
of the microphone.
The correct angle.
So I will say he was not at all what I expected him to be like. He was about 1.5 feet taller and about
That's good.
200 pounds lighter.
Yeah, we basement dwellers don't get the opportunity to grow up tall very often. But.
Well, I will say you come all the way down from Rochester, Minnesota, which
New
is
York.
I'm sorry, New York. Yeah,
There's two Rochesters.
There are two Rochesters. Yeah. So let's hear a short version of what got you into paramotoring, how long you've been flying, and kind of why you got into Reddit. We'll do that in 3 sections. So what got you into paramotors?
Well, I come from deep inside the internet, so all the YouTube hype was definitely a large contributing part. I've had a lifelong interest in aviation.
You're an airshow nerd like me.
I'm an airshow nerd, yeah. I remember one of my fondest childhood memories is my family and I went to the Rochester Air Show and saw the Blue Angels, and I got to meet that squadron at the time. I got a signed calendar, which I have long since lost, and that really resonated, and I've always enjoyed airbags. So it wasn't the very first year, but at some point I had seen the Paradigm team, and
slacker
had thought, yeah, I have no excuse for that one. But and when I saw what these guys were doing and how they were throwing down on these, mystery fan aircraft, I was just like, wow, this is nuts. And at the start, I was just like, well, how do I go see this in person? And when I had done some research and found out how attainable and accessible this sport is, that was when I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So the very next week, do not do this. The very next week, I went on Craigslist. I went on Rochester Craigslist under aviation, typed in paramotor, and there happened to be one down the street.
It was a really nice one too. It was in your color.
Nice one. It was my color. It was pink. The harness was teal, and it had this really strange Jamaican sort of pattern to it. So
La Mouette, right?
La Mouette, yeah.
With a solo?
Yep. With the shoebox exhaust and the low compression head. Absolute winner.
How much did you fly it?
I did not.
Good man.
I did not at all, or even come close. I actually never even had a prop for it. So it had been crashed. The frame had been poorly welded together. There was no gas tank. There was the remnants of a prop, and there were no motor mounts. So I actually I got as far as getting it running before I realized, this is probably not a good idea. This is probably not the best way to ensure my continued safety.
So you say you got it running. I'm going to brag on you a little bit because a lot of your background, as I've gotten to know you over the last few days, you've been into dirt bikes.
Yeah.
You
big time.
You may have. You did a whole lot of maintenance and repair. And one of the things I love about your story is that you're that guy who starts with a paperclip and ends up with a Porsche.
I am that guy. Yeah.
Stay close to the mic so they can hear you. And it's actually kind of ridiculous all the different trades you've made in high school.
Yeah.
To get to the point where you are now.
I believe I went through 4 or 5 cars before I was 18.
Okay.
Quite a few of them were nothing to brag about.
I think your $700 Crown Vic that made it halfway across the country
$700
wins.
Crown Vic that I'm driving currently that made it across the country twice. All paramotor related. I think that is my favorite car because it's been completely paramotor inspired. I bought that to go to training. I went to training. I slept in that for a week during training. I drove it back out to Tennessee from New York to buy my first real paramotor.
Mind you, how tall are you?
6'3".
So you're 6'3" and you curled up in a Crown Vic.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
Well, I laid diagonally. I had a great technique. I reclined the front seat and laid diagonally across the car.
That just, yeah. That's commitment, though. We've had a lot of students do that, and I think it's hilarious because I'm like, guys, it's June, it's 174 degrees, and you're sleeping in your car.
Yeah.
But that's dedication, you know?
I bet my parents are probably howling with laughter at home right now because when I went out, the original plan was to stay at a KOA campground. So I got the cheapest tent possible, which was $20 at Walmart. And it was not waterproof. So
It was not waterproof.
no, it was not waterproof. Actually, the real adventure started my first night at the campground. I got woken up by the police, shining spotlights at me.
Okay.
Because there was a fugitive on the loose in that area,
Oh,
so
my
they wanted to
Lord.
make sure I wasn't harboring him in my single occupant Walmart tent.
Well, it did seem like a thing you might do. You kind of
Maybe,
have that harboring.
I look like a notorious suspect, I guess.
Oh my
But anyway,
Lord.
there was at one point I woke up and it was like raining inside. It was just soaking right through. So the car was my fallback option. Actually, before I went to the car, where I trained, they had like a concrete patio with an overhang, and there was a vending machine there that had like a really bright marquee sort of light. And so I was like, I'll just put my mattress pad right on this concrete and I'll be dry. The morning dew won't come up and soak it. It'll be fine. Well,
the
the
bugs.
light attracts grasshoppers, and the grasshoppers attracted the gnarliest spiders I have ever seen in
Oh
my
my
life.
gosh.
So after a couple times of walking up to like these tarantulas, crawling over my face, I decided to just sleep in the car from then on.
Oh my Lord. So Will has been. When did you learn to fly?
In August.
So August of this past year.
End of August, beginning of September of last year.
So when did you get involved in the Paramotor subreddit?
Well, I can tell you that it was April of last year, so just over a year that I've been into the scene. And I was a Redditor for many years before that, so it just only seemed natural to go on that forum, especially after trying the Facebook group for a little while.
That's one of the things. So I've never been in a more divisive culture of people.
Yeah, I guess when you get that many people together, naturally it's going to get a little hairy. They perhaps dial it up a little farther than they should.
Very much so.
Pull it together, John.
One of the things that I really like, though, is I like that what really drew me to have you come here was that you've kind of followed a very similar program to what we do, which has been how do we break away from this, I have the best equipment, I have the best school. How do we go and say, it's about the experience, about changing people's lives. Mm-hmm. I see your comments all the time, helping a pilot who's been flying for a while. Like, hey, if you start your flare a little bit later, what inspired you to be that person, to be a gracious person on the internet? Because that's pretty rare.
I initially it was just I think I've always sort of enjoyed that, especially from I have some. Thank you. I was feeling naked with nothing in front of me. And all these podcasts, you got to have a water bottle or a coffee mug.
Sorry,
or you got
I'm
like
slacking.
The sort of Temple of Doom mannequin head.
I like him.
Yeah, I like him too. That shiny carbon fiber is really,
It's a sexy helmet.
It
So
is.
so you
That's good looking.
What was it that really drew you to be a positive force instead of being a negative one? Because that's really why you're here. Is you answer everyone's question. You don't tell people that they're blatantly wrong unless they're just trolling, and you're nice.
Right. Well, unfortunately, in our industry, some of the loudest voices are also some of the most negative.
True.
And I figured that if I was going to have any sort of influence, I would like to be a foil or a counter to them.
Right.
I've always enjoyed being helpful, and it's intensely gratifying. Even if it's just, like a quick, like, hey, thanks, man, for helping me out. But I've had people write me PMs and like, actual heartfelt, like, multiple paragraph, like, thank you for what you do. And I was like, I'm a Redditor, I write comments. So at the time I was just like, wow, that's touching.
Right.
And I mean, like, I want to do everything I can to continue doing that for people, but it's just like, what do I do? I just in my spare time I'm on this website, and whenever somebody.
So what is it you do for work?
I've bounced all around. All of my background is I used to be a car mechanic. So for 2 years in high school, I did an auto tech course. I learned the basic fundamentals of.
Do you want to change my oil for me, because it's due?
What is it that you drive? It's a Toyota, right?
It's a Toyota 86. It's the Scion FRS, Subaru BRZ, Toyota 86. It's in 2017 Toyota took it over when Scion was put down.
Okay.
Which is great, because I always thought the Scion brand was terrible looking.
Yeah.
And I bought this because it was 0% interest, and I was desperate for a car that had a guarantee of warranty, because I had a Mini Cooper before. I've always driven very manly cars.
Very good.
Extremely.
Yeah.
I have had Miatas, Mini Coopers. I'm all about the manliness.
Where's your PT Cruiser?
Almost in high school. It almost happened. But I bought this thing and I started driving it. It's the best driver's car I've ever owned. It is just an incredibly well-handling car. And I spent a few years on a racetrack, so I really enjoy a tight-handling car. And it's just very anemic, didn't have any power. So after 2,200 miles, my buddy Bryant, one of my past students, and I destroyed the warranty by putting a turbo on it. Now it's really fun.
That's great. Yeah, well, that sounds good. You can hear that thing coming.
That's the problem. It is a little too easy to hear coming.
As far as the oil change, those cars that sit really low to the ground have always been a super pain, because they're hard to jack up. But yeah, we could probably get that done.
We can find a way.
I bet we can accomplish.
All right,
that.
I've got a quick note from Nina from behind the camera. She says that sadly she can't comment to reply to questions tonight. There's some issue with our Restream program. So if you guys are interested in having a question answered that we can't answer directly through text, and that does happen, please remember you guys can always email us, info@aviatorppg.com. We'd be happy to answer your questions there as well. There's lots of stuff. Parker, Mike, can you ask for help? They're already answering questions. Yes, Parker and Mike, please help us. Thank you so much for answering questions as it is. If you guys don't know who Parker and Mike are, they're two of the instructors who work at two of our Alliance schools. So it's Texas at Lone Star PPG and Fly My PPG in Michigan. What's really cool is that they have their classes watching and they all join in. So if you guys are interested in learning to fly and you don't want to wait until November to train with us, please reach out to our friends at the Alliance schools. They're incredible people. I'm actually, one of the things I'm doing this year is I'm making it my mission to fly my airplane to every Alliance school and to spend some time teaching there, because I kind of want to surprise people that are there and be like, hi, I'm Eric. Can I teach you how to fly too? So we'll see. It could be fun. Johnson Q says he's at 2,000 feet on his free ride. How do I land this thing?
Well, if you're asking that question, you're on a free ride. I guess just,
Go
close
for
your
it.
eyes and send it.
What I like to say is that the landing's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's going to happen eventually.
You're gonna do it one way or another.
Johnson's a great
how well
pilot.
you do it. I mean, if you're up there on a free ride, you might as well just go all in, get that swoop going.
Oh my lord.
Maybe a circle foot drag. Maybe a helico landing would be good.
If you could pull off a good helico landing on a free ride, I will buy your next free ride, because you're going to try to total it. Actually, I'm not promising that. I'm not actually going to do that.
Yeah,
all right, so got into flying less than a year ago. Been flying the heck out of yourself, even though you can only fly on weekends, and you live in the worst place on the planet to fly.
Night shift. It's not the worst, but it's we have half the year. In New York, it gets very cold. And if you are in the vicinity of a Great Lake, it gets very windy, usually at the same time.
Yes.
So the winter has been very torturous to me.
So
but we're just getting into where it's good, consistent weather.
Tell me this: what's been your all-time favorite flight so far?
Probably the one where we bumped tips, to be honest. I mean, that was
yesterday morning.
That was great. That was yesterday morning. Yeah.
That was so fun.
You know, every flight should be better than the last, I think. In some
It
way.
is. Yeah, it really is.
Even if it's just you building experience, or if it's an Eric Farewell wingtip bump, that's something else.
Well, we have we're recording a video, so many of you guys may have seen the Spider 3 review video we made and released this last week, and then yesterday morning, one of our instructors here he goes by Ockbots. He was a DRL racer on ESPN. He actually just got hired back by DRL to do some technical stuff. He's brilliant with a race quad. So doing 100 miles an hour in this quad first-person view. And he texted me 2 days ago. He's like, Eric, I have this idea. I want to shoot some super slow-mo 6 shots of you on the Spider 22. And I said, okay. Mm-hmm. And so got up early, came in yesterday, worked a 15-hour day. And while we were waiting for him to swap batteries, Will launches, and I'm like, let's go wingtip bump. So, yeah, Ockbots is the freaking man. We love him. We're going to answer some questions. Part of the reason why we wanted to bring Will on is, he's obviously a gentleman and a scholar and really ridiculously gracious to people on the internet. So we wanted to see if he was gracious in person, too.
Well, I hope I don't disappoint.
Well, we have a lot of questions to answer. We have a few on Reddit, a few here in the chat. I know Nina's putting together stuff. But I wanted to answer a question I saw earlier asking about the Spider 3 and its availability. So if you guys are interested in ordering a Spider 3, first off, I have double my salary, currently owed to Ozone for all the wings we bought. And we pre-ordered them all because Ozone's backed up about 45 days on their Roadsters and Spiders right now. So we wanted to go ahead and kind of jump the line. And so we pre-ordered a ton. I think we have 1 to 2 of every size and every color. And so if you want one, they've been on order for 2 or 3 weeks now, which means that we're about a month and a half away. And they are available for pre-order right now. If you go to shop.aviatorppg.com, you can actually go on there and you have to click custom order, fill out what size and what color you want to order. Nina will get the email. She'll get back with you within 24 hours. Unless it's a weekend, then I can't promise. But she still will because she's amazing. And we'll get the order process for you. So I think we're listing them for $3,900. It does say that they're out of stock in the standard order form. They don't anymore. Nope, you can order them. Cool. Nina fixed the thing. So Starfighter, thank you. Spirit Wolf, just a suggestion, take it with a grain of salt, but you need to hire this guy and get him on the team. He has the right heart for it and is all about people at the end of the day. It took me about 4 hours after meeting, like an hour after meeting you to try to hire you.
Relatively, yeah.
Yeah, we've been looking for someone for a while to help with customer service and warranty claims. We need someone that knows paramotoring, knows equipment. So he's been offered a job. We'll see if he'll take it. There's always room. If you have an interest in working for us, send us your resume, send us your information, because there's always people that we're looking to hire. As we keep growing, our goal is to have the best of the best of the best people. So I think it was less than an hour that I knew you before I told you had to move here and work here. So
you sure know how to pick them.
My first mistake. No. Jean-Up Gauthier says, how much fly should someone, normal student learning curve, upgrade from the Mojo to... Okay, how much should someone fly if they're a student or a recent graduate, upgrade from a Mojo to a Spider? Generally, it really depends on your skill level and what your mission is. If your mission is to do big cross countries, you're flying with a bunch of people flying faster wings than you, you're going to want to upgrade to a wing that's a little bit quicker. In my opinion, I'd like to see at least 25 to 50 flights. I think that's a good foundation if you're not with an instructor to be able to move up to a B wing. The more time you can get on a Mojo, the better. I still fly the Mojo more than I fly any other glider because it's so stable. It's rock solid. You guys will see some videos coming out soon. In fact, there was one, if you watch the Viterazzi exhaust or warm-up video, there's some really good flying in there. Not that I'm a good flying, but it was great wind and it was really fun to fly in. I still love the Mojo. The Mojo is just, that's what you were flying yesterday, right?
I flew the Mojo yesterday, the Spider 3 this morning, which I have a glowing report for that wing.
Talk to us. Tell us about the Spider 3.
That wing had possibly the best inflation and launch characteristics of anything I've ever tried.
It's cheating.
It's cheating. The fabric is incredibly light. It is incredibly light. It comes up super good. It's got a generous trim range. I, of course, did not get a chance to try it fully accelerated, but the 26 that I flew
Well, that's way too big for you.
It's way too big for me.
Yeah, you need a 24.
But even then was a definite improvement.
You said you're 180, right?
I'm 175.
Okay,
Yeah.
a 22 would be
180
perfect.
with boots on. Yeah.
22 or 24. To me, every glider has like every glider I've ever flown, there's always a sweet spot size.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to fly them in every size, underloaded, overloaded.
Yep.
At my experience level, I feel comfortable doing that. So for me, my favorite size of the Mojo is the extra large and the extra small. My favorite size on this original Spider is a 24. My favorite size on the Spider 3 is a 22 because it's a little more efficient. Favorite size on the free rides is a 16. The Sirocco is a 19. Speedster 2 is a 22. They all have different, and it's because there's a perfect balance between efficiency and roll rate.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so you want to have something that's efficient enough, but you also want to have it turn fast enough. And so it depends on your weight and your experience level. But you want a 22 Spider 3 would be primo flight. Well, you're not going to be here tomorrow.
Yep.
I guess you better just have to come work here. That's all there is to it.
There's no other choice.
It's a must. It's a requirement. All right, we have lots more questions coming in, and one of the things that I want to do is I want to give the opportunity for Will to answer some of these questions. So if you guys have questions for Will, particularly beginner questions, we have some that Nina's about to make larger so that Will might be able to see it. He's 19. He can read anything, but she's going to make the questions a little bit larger. Some from Reddit, etc. I want to see here. Any other questions? Aviator has been known to offer demos. Yes, Parker and John, we do offer demos. Right now, we're only offering demos on the Spider 3 here in-house just because we have so many people coming to try it. We do have a 22, 24, 26, I believe a 28 in stock. We also have a massive wall of gliders over here in stock, including the new Sirocco 219. It's not really new, but it's new-ish, and it's an incredible wing. If you're looking to go from like a Spider 322, if you happen to be on that scale glider, going to a more advanced wing without jumping all the way to a free ride or a Hadron XX or something that's a lot less safe, you'll love it. It's amazing. I love it. So let's see here. For Karma. Oh. You're becoming an Aviator ambassador, yeah? Because I'm in your neck of the woods and would be a volunteer for your diplomatic mission when you get back in town.
Are you? Do I know Rocketuri? There's so many great names. If you are not already, please join that Rochester area paramotor group. Actually, he was in the chat earlier. Resnack is the one responsible for that.
I see Resnack on here pretty
Great
often.
guy. Yeah, he's awesome. He started that group, and it's just us local guys. But we're building really quick. So if you're not in there, hop in there, and we will definitely meet up.
Awesome. What's the top of your PPG bucket list, Karma?
Oh, geez, so much, so much.
Give me one.
Okay, right off the bat, never been above the clouds. Never had that super picturesque, awesome. That's
this
it.
morning would have been perfect. We could have gone up at like 9:30.
Yeah, we had to train.
Joys of working. All right, you're super active on the subreddit. Do you proselytize for paramotors in real life? Have you converted any family or friends or family members?
That is a great vocab word.
I love proselytize. It's
I'm working
Good
on my
job.
mom and dad. Dad, if you're watching, sell the sleds.
I agree.
Definitely
Sell the sleds.
Sell the sleds. We're all saying it.
Just
Sell
keep
'em.
one. Just keep
Sell 'em.
one.
Listen, this is a winter sport too. You can foot drag the snow.
Actually, that's one of the things at the top of my bucket list is I've never foot dragged snow.
Really?
I've foot drug pretty much every other surface I can think of. I've never foot drug. I have foot dragged broken glass. I've never foot dragged a non-broken glass. But snow, like to me, there's something about it. Partly because I'm from Florida and I just have very little experience with snow. There's something in me is like, if I could foot drag snow, it feels so fluffy.
I have unintentionally foot dragged snow, and it's an interesting sensation. If you've never gone off a frozen lake, that is a great thing.
So also from Florida, the idea of a frozen lake terrifies me because I watched movies as a kid and everyone always crashes through them.
Yeah, well, they're like 3 foot thick, so you're not crashing through that unless you hit pretty quick.
That would be pretty hard. Wesley Burson asks, how involved is the EFI conversion for the Moster 185? All right. You can't really tell, except for the battery command module back there and the computers, but this is a fully EFI'd Eclipse 185. This was at the end. This foot drag. It's one of our demo EFI units, and this is the final version of the EFI. This is the production ready to ship out. So this is about I can't remember what Alex says. It's between an hour and 3 hour install, depending on the frame. So it's not a huge investment of time. If you're a beginner, you've never installed it before, it might take you 3 hours. And one of the things we're doing is we're not offering it for sale as a kit right now. We may change that. We're going to film next week. Alex will be here. In fact, Alex will be on this podcast next week. I'm not sure if I'm hosting or John's hosting yet. We're going to find that out. I'm supposed to be out of town, but we'll see. And he's going to walk people through the entire design process, how it works, everything else. You need to fly this. You can't fly it before you leave because you're leaving tomorrow. Jeez, man. So, long story short, it's not that involved, but we want to make sure that we have perfect customer satisfaction. That's super important to us. So rather than saying, hey, we'll sell 1,000 kits, say we'll sell 100 of them or 500 of them over the next year and let people come to us and we'll teach them how to install it. We'll make sure it's installed properly so there's no failures. So, not super involved, totally doable. All right, let's see. We'd love to get your personal backstory and commentary on the last Aviator question below. We'll get that down to that question. I'm in the June 6th class. Is there a June 6th class? That just scared me. I think it's July 6th. Oh, God. I was like, no, we just started a class. We can't have 3 classes back to back again. All right. I know not to buy gear before training, but I'm really tempted to pre-order a Spider 3. In your video, Chris mentions that it's perfect for a pilot with a 15 to 25 flights range with really consistent landings. And that's something we do here. If you are dialing in your landings, you've got your launches down pretty well, we'll oftentimes take a student, it can be as low as 10 flights, and we'll say, listen, let's put you on a Spider because that'll give more equipment out. And it gives them, like guys like Dylan, who are just crushing it. Mm-hmm. You know, we could put him on a Spider tomorrow and he'll be great, right?
Yeah.
So you actually, before I answer the question, you got to watch 2 first flights in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, that was great. And I don't think I've ever experienced somebody's first flight besides my own, and I know how that was. And those guys did absolutely epic. They completely crushed it. The one that I filmed this morning with the butterfly landing,
yes,
with the absolute,
Dunk.
That was actually his second, but the other one, Tom, also same way. I
loved his reaction. He hiked the entire Appalachian Trail after college.
Yeah,
and he goes, "This is the coolest thing I've ever done." And I was like, "You hiked the whole Appalachian Trail?" He's like, "This is better."
Dude, I just flew with a bed sheet and a fan, like
Well, what did you think of the training process? Because especially for guys like that, like this guy who's coming next month, what was your experience? I don't want you to make us sound better or worse than where you trained. You can make it sound worse if it was worse, but I want you to talk about what it looks like seeing how people are training, because this is the first time you've been down here.
Yeah. What struck me right off the bat was how personable everyone was, because it takes a specific personality type to do this successfully, and there are people that are incredible pilots and super talented, and they do not have the ability to click with their students.
Right.
And that's everything.
It's 100% everything.
And the crew that they've got here are incredible.
He's getting sad.
Poor mannequin head.
Poor mannequin head. I can't keep him up.
The crew that they've got here, Chris, Fletch, AJ, Mike, all the rest, they just jive with everyone. And we've been able to, even some of the slower people, we've been able to get them to a level which for day 3, to solo at day 3, it's just awesome. It was day 3, right?
It was day 3.
Yeah.
For one, the big thing to me, and we talked about this in the live streams in the past, is like our team here is everything. Like, I am not what makes Aviator cool, and that's 100% the truth. I am a homeschool high school dropout whose nickname in high school was Goon. I was 6'4", 130. All right, like I was tall and skinny. I am such a big advocate for our team, because the fact that we're here at 8 o'clock at night, and John and Nina are behind the camera, and Alex is watching the live stream, and Catherine was just here helping host, and Chris and the team have been working 15-hour days trying to help get these students going, and just incredible people. And I always kind of get this little like parental pride when we have someone come and visit, and they're like, "Wow, that works really well." We had a old friend and mentor of mine, Jamie Beckett, who he actually wrote the very first article about me in an aviation magazine when I was 15. And he came to a fly-in I was hosting for airplanes, and he dropped by. He now works for the AOPA, and he dropped by a few weeks ago, and he happened to sit through a class debrief. And one of the things that's kind of different with our school is our pre-briefs and debriefs are really, in my opinion, the most important part of our education, because we don't just teach you how to fly. We want to teach you to have a better life, because we get to share ours with you. And so this class in particular, there's a lot of really open sharing where people were sharing, losses in their families and losses in their friends and personal struggles. And Jamie looks at me and goes, pilots don't talk about this stuff. Pilots don't talk about mental health. Pilots don't talk about what they feel. Pilots talk about how cool they are. And I said, well, luckily we're butt fan pilots, so there's nothing cool about us,
Yeah.
But it really is a special thing, and I really I'm super honored to have you come down here. Same thing with anybody who comes and visits us.
I mean, this is the most honored I've ever felt in my entire life. No joke. to be sitting here,
dude, you rock it.
A month ago, I was, a Redditor.
You still are.
I still am, but now I am an elevated Redditor. I'm a Redditor who got to sit across the table and chill out with Eric Farewell for a podcast.
That's actually it's against you. It's a strike against you.
Well,
I don't know. Have to hang out with me.
It's what I think. It's not what everybody else thinks. That's what's important.
You're crazy. Well, we have more questions. I'm going to jump back into them. There was a question above that one, if you would, Nina. I didn't get all the way through the answer. Not that. Sorry. The one I started answering earlier. Down. It's on Reddit also. He had questions for us. And yes, that's the one. All right. To finish answering your question about whether or not you should buy a Spider 3 now or later, our answer is always going to be the same. It's simply, we always recommend that you wait to invest in your equipment until after you finish your training, or at least until after you've had your first few flights. Even though that costs us sales, we recommend that because we don't want you to invest in the wrong thing. That said, since you're going to be one of our students and you're coming through our class, if you purchased a Spider 3 and you get here and you discover that you're a Mojo guy, you haven't opened your Spider because it hasn't arrived yet before your class, don't worry, we'll take care of you. We're always going to make things right. We're always going to make sure that you have the right equipment. Any of our students that come through, it's not something we can offer the world. We can't be like, hey, you bought a Spider 3 and you kited it for 30 hours and decided it wasn't right for you. But if you're joining our Aviator family, we're going to serve you, period. So I hope that answers your question. There was one more in that one I didn't see. I'm sorry, Nina. I'm making you scroll so much. Let's see. Can you talk about 2D steering? Yes, we are going to have a 2D steering video coming out later this week. In Livestream number 9, we mentioned a wing buying guide. Filmed, edited, and it wasn't good. Our fault, my fault, John's fault. We didn't have the lighting right, and that's on both of us. It was out of focus for part of it, and he worked his butt off. The guy spent probably 30 hours editing this 10-minute video because he was trying to make it look right, and it just couldn't. And I'm a photographer. I should have thought about the lighting more. I thought it would look better than it did. So Wing Buying Guide Part 1, we plan on filming on Friday. So you guys should be able to anticipate seeing that sometime the next couple weeks. What should the new pilot mark on their calendar? Oshkosh or Sun and Fun? Oshkosh. Mic drop. Oshkosh.
Osh.
Yeah.
No further comment.
Have you been there?
I haven't.
But you're going to be there this year, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try.
You used your vacation for this?
I used my 32 hours of PTO for this.
Now if you worked here, you could have PTO paid time on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Personally, I'd largely don't buy the training is too expensive argument, since I think powered paragliding is still within striking distance of most Americans who choose to devote the appropriate time, effort, and funding to it. That said, you guys are considering any sort of program for people, especially young people who show tremendous commitment but might struggle to clear the initial investment. I don't want to get into details yet. There's been something that I've wanted to do since I started Aviator, to be able to give back more. I've shared a little bit about this with you. I really can't share details right now because I want to have things in place before we share details. But we're going to do something that we believe will be for the greater good, because we truly believe that when you fly, it makes you a better person. It makes your life better. We've seen it change the lives of hundreds of students. I've seen it change my own life and the lives of my family, my father, my brothers. Soon to be my wife. She actually just recently, 2 nights ago, came back and said she really wants to learn to fly now. So I'm excited. She may be in our November class. But we want to do more. I have this deep passion to do more, to share more, to basically create opportunity. So yes, it's coming down the pike. When we release the information, our hope is that the community will come behind us, particularly some business leaders and people who have the opportunity to be able to bless it and have it be a good thing. So we'll see how soon we can put it together. I have laid the groundwork, and I finally, thanks to my incredible team, I finally have the bandwidth to be able to put some effort toward it, because that's been a big part of it for us is not having the bandwidth there to be able to make that effort. But if Will comes on board, I'll have plenty of time, and you guys will all get trained. It'll be great. Excuse me. All right. I'm going to let you read this one because I've been talking nonstop. Go.
Great. Okay, Plenty o Platypodes.
That's a great name.
That is. I wish I'd thought of that. Plenty of Platypodes wants to have a discussion about reserves. And when he was trained, he was told that it was an unnecessary complication for new pilots who should only be flying in perfect weather and not pushing their skills. We pre-flight our gear and make responsible choices. I understand why it may be a risk for new pilots to get scared and think that they need to toss a reserve when it may just be bumpy. I
like the rest of it, though. You got to fast forward to browsing the subreddit, and it's like sex ed and Mean Girls. If you fly without a reserve, you will get pregnant and die.
Yeah, that's right. If you live. This is a subject of so much contention.
It is.
And it is my personal opinion that if you have the wherewithal to get that reserve, it is good to have that safety net. But the reserve should not be an excuse to put yourself in a situation that you can't handle.
Yes, absolutely. But my take on it is this. If you're in training, like Aviator, we don't use reserves in training because I've seen too many videos of reputable schools where a student takes off and either getting in their seat, they pull the reserve. Happened to me free flying, by the way. Super sketchy. I have the video to prove it. Or they hit bumpy air and they think they're going to have a collapse or something bad's going to happen, so they throw their reserve and they end up getting injured, or they end up nearly getting injured. So we don't fly with reserves for students simply to remove that. But mind you, we further limit our flyable window because we know they don't have a reserve. This morning, I really wanted to go fly my free ride, and I sold my motor. My sexy red Parajet.
Only your 50th motor.
I know, yeah. I love my red one. So I have another red one being built, and apparently it's going to be pretty swanky. I don't know anything about it. Tom at Parajet, I believe in you. It better be cool. Yeah, so I didn't go up and fly with the free ride because I'm not going to go up to Aviator without a reserve. I will fly a Mojo without a reserve. I flew the Spider 3 without a reserve, but I'm not going to choose to make more dangerous decisions without something to have as a backup. Right. It's cheap insurance.
There's a relatively famous video of two people flying above a frozen lake, and yeah, you know the one.
Very well.
Essentially, a person was put into a position where their wing was collapsed. They throw the reserve, the wing inflates and begins flying normally, and then the reserve opens.
Right.
And then he smashes into the lake.
So there's a lot of back and forth, and in fact, we've had this back and forth. I've had this with all of our instructors because everyone has different opinions, but I happen to know the pilot in question very well. In fact, and he was a free flight pilot, and in really turbulent air, where you have a big collapse and you don't know if you're going to be able to recover it. And in fact, the issue at that one was that the gentleman's hooks on his boot, the loops, hooked his lines.
He didn't read his PPG Bible.
Right. He did. I'm certain he did not. And so the student in question who was flying the below glider, my understanding is that he believed that he was tangled and unable to get out of it. So he threw his reserve to save them both. On this note as well, the gentleman who caused the collapse recommends very small reserves because they're light and they open fast, which is great and all, but when you hit the ice at that much speed, buy a reserve that fits your weight. For instance, I am just over 120 kilos, so I'm switching from my 120 rated ozone square to a 140 because I want to hit the ground lightly like a feather. So just to defend the pilot, in free flying, if your wing starts to go away, the instructors will all tell you, when in doubt, whip it out. So he did what he was trained. However, there's a lot of back and forth. I mean, there is no easy answer. My answer is get lots and lots of training and have a reserve because you never want to be up there in the sky and wish you had one.
When you are at the level with which you can carry a reserve, you should, in my opinion, you should already know when it is the acceptable time to throw it.
Yes.
Because there is a lot of times when you throw a reserve, you are basically guaranteed to land hard.
Yes. Learn how to PLF.
Learn how to PLF. Disable that wing. Do not downplane.
Yes.
And make sure there's a balance to be struck. Make sure that it is not a situation you could have made it out of, but also don't wait until you're 300 feet off the deck to make that decision.
We had a pilot here who was an instructor, very talented pilot. He was here in January, and he was up doing SATs, and he spun the SAT, and ended up going just past his wing, like just right past his wing, through his reserve. It went straight down, like all the worst things that could happen, but it opened beautifully, and he landed. It was the first flight, I think, on his new Maverick, and
That's unfortunate.
he landed it, and it just, like, no damage, a little bit of dirt right here. And so it's important, like, size it right, get education, go to an SIV class. We're working on adding more intermediate and advanced classes here. If you guys are interested in intermediate and advanced classes, I'm going to ask John behind the camera. I'd like to put a tab up on our website. It should probably be up by tomorrow. That just says intermediate advanced or something. If you'd like to sign up for a special mailing list for intermediate and advanced classes where we can teach you thermaling, we can teach you trike transition. For those of you who have the hours, you have the trike transition already done, we can teach tandem clinics, free flight clinics. We have a huge list of things we'd like to start teaching, and I'd be very interested to have people who are interested in learning more beyond the beginner. Like when you want to go beyond the beginner and want to be pushed forward toward having the experience to make better decisions and be a better pilot all around, like someone like you.
Yeah.
Right. What at your level now? How many hours do you have, or how many flights?
More than 50 and less than 100.
Okay. So what do you feel like you're lacking right now?
Bump tolerance would be one.
We could fix that tomorrow morning if you weren't leaving.
Yeah, we could. And that is a function of, again, I've just I've got what equipment I can get my hands on, and I've limited myself mostly to the best conditions so far. So nice winds, nice by New York standards, not nice by Florida standards. No thermals. And I've been building up slowly. Actually, if Resnack is in the chat, the last flight I did, no, actually, I'm sorry, second to last, because I also flew that night, Justin, just so you know. That morning I was wind dummying. And I went up, and it was maybe 8 o'clock, which here is not that bad. At home, 8 o'clock, I could not get any altitude. I was getting rocked.
Oh, man.
Yeah, not a fun time.
So that's the kind of thing that we can work on, because what I love teaching is I love taking beginner pilots who've never flown and seeing their eyes change, seeing who they are change. But I truly love watching a pilot who has the requisite experience to be safe, start to explore the boundaries safely with encouragement. There's a video that Woody put up of me teaching him how to thermal. And those flights make me giddy still to this day. I mean, not every flight makes me giddy because I'm a nutcase, but definitely something interesting. So we'll work on it.
Woody went big.
Woody went big! All right, so yeah, we'll get that up on the website. If you guys are interested in joining a intermediate or advanced class, we'd love to have you share what it is you'd like to learn on that contact form. I imagine by the time this podcast goes live, it'll be available at, what should we call it, John? aviatorppg.com/ intermediate. Okay, aviatorppg.com/advance. Advance, not advance, advance. We're going to advance you forward. We're going to push you to the next level. There you go. Super Area. One question. I'm a fixed-wing pilot. How many of my skills will translate over to PBG flying, or will my fixed-wing experience make learning more difficult?
Your knowledge of airspace law will translate.
It is the only thing.
Not much else.
So when we open a new class, we ask everyone to introduce who they are, how old they are, what they do for a living, what their family situation is like, how much aviation experience they have, including RC, kiteboarding, skydiving, and then we ask them what their superpower is, right? And the one thing that we hate more than anything else, it sounds not hate's the wrong word. The one thing that makes learning more challenging than anything else are pilots. And it's because I'm pointing at myself here. I'm a private pilot, about 1,500 hours fixed wing time. I've owned 54 different airplanes, some of them for as short as 6 minutes. I'm not rich. I buy airplanes for less than the price of a motorcycle, all right? But I've been buying and selling airplanes since I was 13 years old. Like your paper clips are my butt fans in airplanes. Yeah. So I love fixed wing flying. Yesterday I logged about 1.2 hours in the RV6. We went up, did a whole bunch of aerobatics, got to fly around with AJ for a while and Alex for a while, and flew by myself for a while. Just filled my heart with joy. But I land flying the airplane. I was saying this as you were taxiing back. I land from flying the airplane feeling satisfied, like I've done a good job or I've done a bad job. But I feel relieved and satisfied. When I land from a paramotor, I'm pure giddy. Exactly. Yeah. And when you come in with general aviation background, one of the things you have to do is you have to relearn. So you're going to come into this and you have the expectation. You roll aileron, you pull, and you let release, and it keeps turning. And this, everything is add pressure and hold. Slow motion release. It's very easy in some ways, but you have to get through your own head. It's like like anything else. There are areas where it will help you. Aerodynamics, airspace, the rest, it's gonna be more of a mental game. You know, it really is. This was the hardest thing I ever learned to fly. No question. No question. Damage CC, resubmitting, how can I get bigger turns out of my Roadster 3? Newer pilot with 38 flights. Can I pull tip steering even with trims in? How hard can I safely pull, brake, and tip steering? Damage, I'm going to answer your question in two ways. First, if after 38 flights, you are looking to get bigger turns, you're pushing it. We call it the Dunning-Kruger effect. The world calls it the Dunning-Kruger effect, where your confidence has exceeded your abilities. That's not to say you may be the most naturally talented baller pilot, but I've watched one of my very good friends, who was a very natural super baller pilot, almost kill himself by going too big, too fast, and then scaring himself. My encouragement to you is if you're at that point right now where you're trying to go big, take a step back, rethink your safety margins, and then find an instructor or a mentor. Consider this aviatorppg.com/advance, because I don't know if that's the right fit for you, but maybe we can find someone for you local to you that has more experience who can talk you through things. To answer your question directly, yes, you can pull tip steering while trimmed in. And as far as how much brake and tip you can pull until it stalls. Should you? Is a whole different question. You have any thoughts on that, Will?
Let's see. Can we scroll back up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't think I really would have much to add except, what was his question with trims?
How can I get bigger turns out of my Roadster 3? He's a newer pilot with only 38 flights.
Okay, what I wanted to say is if you are at that level, one of the things that I say is you should take an objective look at yourself and ask yourself, pretend that you're some omniscient observer, like looking at yourself in a mirror, and ask yourself, like, okay, am I ready to start doing big swoopy turns? Do I know how to get myself out of a bad situation that might result from that?
Do I have a reserve, and do I have enough altitude?
Exactly.
The thing that I always try to remind people is that the majority of private pilot crashes and fatalities happen between 80 and 200 hours of flight time. Mm-hmm. For paramotor, it's generally, in my opinion, the time I see people nearly get hurt or actually get injured is usually it's between 50 and 150 flights. Because the confidence goes up. They can launch almost every time. They're landing beautifully, so their confidence keeps racking up. And I literally pulled aside one of my instructors and one of our visiting pilots today and said, you're too confident. You're doing really well, but you're close to going too far. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we have to constantly check and recheck ourselves.
I bet I know which one.
Exactly. Well, the thing is,
I bet I know which, because I was up.
We're super blessed to be in a position here where we have a community of pilots, where we have, like this morning, probably 20 pilots out, that we can watch out for each other and look for those warning signs of, hey, you're getting too good for your own good. Mm-hmm. When you start to accept this normalization of deviance, where you start to accept that, I didn't go quite as well as I'd pleased, but I'm going to rip the next barrel roll harder, right? You have to take a step back, take stock of yourself, and find ways to be safe. Mm-hmm. All right, Mark asks, if I can foot launch, can I also trike?
It is an entirely different skill set.
That was a paramotor flying right by the door, ladies and gentlemen. If you couldn't hear that, that was a paramotor. Flew right by the door. Don't know who it was.
Way to go, buddy.
Was that? I don't know who it was, but it was like right by the door. It sounded like a paramotor. Dang! If you guys can't hear that, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty good.
All right. If I foot launch, can I also trike? Yes, it is a different skill set. What else do you think?
You would be ill-advised to immediately try triking if your only experience is with foot launch, because the characteristics of launch on a trike, especially in
That's really loud. I'm gonna go
That
see
is
who it
pretty
is.
loud.
Keep talking.
okay, especially in regards to their wow, they're all running out. Especially in their regards to their tendency to oscillate, that is something that gets a lot of people into trouble early on.
It's AJ.
have-
AJ's bombing the hangar.
There you go, AJ.
It's a beautiful night now. Oh my goodness. So I didn't hear the rest of your answer, but I'm gonna jump in if it's okay.
Absolutely. Go.
Okay, so if you foot launch extremely well, yes, you can trike. I would recommend about 2 days of training. It takes, what's that? Mark's coming to our training? Oh, sweet. So you can,
Awesome.
if you have exceptional experience foot launching, you can absolutely trike with a transition class or with a friend to help you or something like that. I was a foot launch pilot with around, gosh, I don't know how many hours I had at that point, 700, I don't know, something like that. And I had to stop foot launching because I had an accident. And 6 weeks later, I was trike launching. It took me probably about 10 inflations to get the wing overhead and taxi. Definitely takes some challenge. But it is doable. I like to say that foot launching is more physically demanding and trike launching is more mentally demanding, right? So it can be done though, Mark. It's a question of how to do it safely. Is there a PPG flight tracking and in-air app that you recommend? Excuse me. Which ones do you recommend, Will?
PPGPS is a good one.
If
There
you're a
is-
loser with an Android.
You're a loser. If you're a loser who doesn't have an Apple product, PPGPS,
By the way, if you work here, you have to buy an iPhone.
you can buy me one. That'll be a
Oh!
sign-on bonus.
All right. I'm in. You're getting an iPhone SE. It's going to be great.
An SE. Okay. That's great. Is that the track phone version?
I don't know. It's just really old, and I see them cheap on Craigslist. The Fly Sky High for iPhone is really good.
Yep. There are a lot. There is one that tracks, and that you can go on and see when people have been flying.
Oh, cool. I
And
didn't
the
know that.
name escapes me.
There's another one that Jonathan Kaiser, who just came through our class, he has one for the Garmin watch as well, which is kind of cool.
I have been looking into getting a smartwatch for the sole purpose of having an altimeter easily accessible, because that would be great. There's one called the Core. It's not a smartwatch. It's an altimeter watch. They're also expensive, and having a GPS version instead of one that would use barometric
Right.
is I think a great solution to having something cheap, and still, we don't need to be accurate within 5 feet.
Right.
It's good enough for what we do.
So I feel the need to address this because Jeff Stang, who's a friend of ours, just posted saying that he wants to be counted out because he needs an iPhone. Let me explain. Half of our business is run through iCal and iMessage, and it's really a bummer to have, like, for instance, Mike, one of our instructors, Mike, has a freaking BlackBerry, which
Yeah.
I'm so jealous of. I
BlackBerry.
miss my BlackBerry. Having
Yeah.
I could sit right here and have a conversation with you and text without ever looking at it and just write like a madman, and it was so epic. But having group message that all works together is really nice. It's the best way to send memes back and forth, and as our team grows, you got to have the memes, man.
You can't send memes via BBM anymore.
I don't know if you
Come
can. I don't know. All right, let's keep going. We've got Jeannot says, how much fly should someone know? Oh, we already talked about that one. I am only... Okay, John Petcher says, I'm currently flying the 18-meter Snake XX. It's starting to get quite a few hours on it. So what is a good ozone equivalent? John, the equivalent would be a free ride. The big difference between the free ride and the Snake XX, which I've flown both an exceptionally large amount, been flying a free ride, and before that a Viper 416 for a long time. I flew the original Stake for probably 100 hours. Flew the Snake XX probably another 70 hours. I had an 18-meter. That's actually the wing I flew in the highest wind. It was 29 gusts,
Really?
32
Oh,
on the beach. And it was
Goodness.
super fun. My brother James and I flew, and we took this Nirvana rodeo out to an island, and it was just like a sandbar. And literally, we turned the switches off, and he'd wrap his body around the propeller so I could inflate the wing. And then I'd wrap my body around the propeller, then run to the side, turn the switches on, start them up. Because literally, otherwise you're in the water because it's only about 25 feet long of dirt. Oh, it's awesome. Super fun. The biggest difference you'll find is A, the control pressures are much lighter on the free ride, and B, it uses about 1/3 of the altitude in maneuvers. Free ride or Viper 4, either one, they are so much more efficient. It is ridiculous. However, the speed is primarily in speed bar, not trim. So your trim range is much shorter, and they do that so that you can trim out and still use main brakes versus having to go to solely tips.
that seems to be a common factor with Dudex. Their trim ranges are just
They're huge.
insane.
Yeah, when we've talked about this on live streams in the past. The reason why we continue to sell Ozone is because I kind of have a man crush on Dav, their lead designer. And it's not
Yeah.
because he's just a beautiful man. It's because the way he thinks about wing design is safety, then performance. So he has the winningest paragliders in slalom competitions right now. They're not as fast as Dudex wings, but they're designed to be safer, and they're designed to turn better. So in my opinion, it would be tough for me to ever go away.
You can use the Dudek trim straps as a tape measure.
You
in
can.
a pinch.
They do. You can
That's
indeed,
good.
which is nice. All right. Let's see. We have some more here going on. And actually, by the way, John Petru, if you would like, or Petru, if you'd like to try a free ride, I have a 16 and a 23 here, maybe a 19. You're welcome to come if you have the experience. In my opinion, going off the 18 Snake XX, the 16 would be an equivalent, but it will roll about 30% faster. It's a much faster roll rate. It will scare you the first time. Sven Pavlik, I'm sorry, Tommy Anderson. Hey, Eric, can you go over the trim range on the Spider 3? Has anything changed, and is it different from my Roadster 3? Tommy, it's the same trim range as your Roadster 3. You're still going to launch and land on the red line, unless you're crazy like me, land all the way trimmed out, which is really fun. You go for a really long way. Tommy, it's good to see you here, man. I hope you're doing well. Sven says, my Spider is 2.5 years old and due for a biannual. Nitro has been great. I'm looking for a new wing, so I can send this one in for an inspection. I take off from a rough pavement due to some weeds and twigs that are built out of Kevlar, posing more danger due to tangles in the adjacent grass. Not looking to get crazy, but a little more snap. Sven, I can't remember what size your Spider is. I would recommend going down one size in the new Spider 3. If you're having no issues to speak of with your Spider as far as longevity goes, you can certainly dial into a Spider 3 and continue that. Or if you'd like to have a little bit more durable fabric, the Roadster 3 is a great comparable. It launches, in my opinion, the Roadster 3 launches as easily as the original Spider. Lance asked, where is my motor? Lance Schuessler, I believe your motor is inbound. I don't know all the details. Nina's nodding and smiling that your motor is inbound to us now. Where is it? She's going to email you after the live stream, Lance. We got your back, brother. Josh Perry, I'm going to address this one to Will. What are the advantages and disadvantages of a 3-blade prop versus a 2-blade prop?
A 3-blade prop smoother, 2-blade prop cheaper. If you ding a 2-blade prop, you don't need to spend $700. Although if you have an E-prop, they have it's kind of insane. I don't know if Helix does this. They have like an RFID chip or something, and they'll match a prop to the rest of the set if you just take off one. I do not believe there is a difference in thrust. That's a component of blade length.
Yeah, so actually a single blade prop is the most
The
efficient.
most efficient.
2-blade
However,
prop is secondary. The longer, the better.
I do not recommend chopping off one blade.
He's tried it.
You will quickly learn the limits of your motor mounts at that point.
All right, guys, we are over an hour in right now. We're going to take about a 3-minute break, get some water, shoo off all the pilots flying outside making us jealous. Thank you all so much for watching. Continue to add your questions in the chat. Nina's going to keep moving through them. We have a lot of questions to answer. I have a feeling this live stream is going to be one of our longest ever.
I'm down.
You're done?
I'm down.
About to say, I flew you all the way down from New York. You can't be done.
Sorry
You're
about
going to be
your
here till midnight.
Sorry about your luck, buddy. No, I'll stay here forever.
All right, so guys, we'll be back in about 3 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be right back.
Radio, go.
Hello and welcome back, guys. Our initial break is complete, and I want to give a big shout out as we're getting back in here to our stream sponsor of the night, the man, the myth, the legend, Lucian Sims, who has provided us with this lovely bottle of Wild Turkey 101. This is guaranteed to put hair on my chest because he can't have any. But Lucian, thank you, sir, and to anybody else who is interested in sponsoring the stream with a adult libation or otherwise, feel free to contact us for our address, or it's 451 South Airport Road, Lake Wales, Florida 33859. Mainly because I always forget to bring in beer or whiskey or something, and it just makes a podcast more fun. And Lucian delivered with the Hudson and with the Wild Turkey and also some scotch because he's the freaking man. And then he shows up. So this is a funny story. Last week, I get a text on Wednesday morning, which Wednesday morning I take with my kids so my wife can have a life. And he sends me a text. He goes, Eric, you have a delivery in the red building. I was like, okay. And 2 hours later, I hadn't replied because I was hanging out with my kids and I'm busy and I'm doing the dad thing. Which, by the way, for those of you guys who didn't know, that the whole reason why I was late to this podcast, we had to make it 7:30 instead of 6, is because
the dance,
daddy-daughter dance, man, and she's getting it down, and I'm terrible, but she likes me. She's 4, my daughter Eloise. So I finally get another text 2 hours later that says, "Hey Eric, your delivery is melting." Now he's already sent the whiskey, so I'm like, what the f did he send? Like I texted him back. I said, I'm on my way. It was like 11:30. Pull into this shop here, the North Complex, and I was like, oh, wait, Lucian said I'd go to the red shop. So I go to the red shop, I talk to Chris for a few minutes, then I walk inside the door, and here's Lucian. I was like, what are you doing here, dude?
Suh, dude.
Suh, dude.
What's up, dude?
So he, as with many other members of the Aviator family, just kind of dropped in from New York City for a night. He's like, where are you taking me to lunch? I was like, well, I was going to work, but I guess we're going to go to Crazy Fish and get some tuna.
Yeah, dude.
So, always a pleasure, Lucian. Thank you for the whiskey. It's a joy to have you here. And next time, you need to be on the podcast. I'm still upset that you haven't stuck around for one. So, all right. We have a ton of questions. We're back here with Karma Commando, a.k.a. Will, the man, the myth, the man who has not accepted the job at Aviator yet. I think that he'd be an exceptional customer service rep.
Well,
/ pilot.
Now that you said, well, I'm already an exceptional pilot. Let's be clear. No, I'm just kidding. Rather unexceptional. Maybe even more so than the Woodster. I don't want to ape his catchphrase, but you know.
All right. Ferret 00007 says, coming from a Mac Paracharger at 28 hours, I'm foot launched and have trouble keeping up with my trike friends. I'm looking at getting a Colorado or Sirocco. Any thoughts? I've not flown actually, I have flown a Colorado once. I remembered I have flown it. I am not the biggest fan of Mac Para's gliders, simply because I don't like the way they fly compared to others. Not that they're bad wings. If you're flying a modern paraglider brand with modern wings, they're all pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. They're as good as the motors are bad. That's basically the way I look at it. In my opinion, you should try them both, see what you like best. You're welcome to come here and try what we fly. We have Siroccos in stock. In fact, depending on your weight, we have quite a few Siroccos for demo. So, and Speedsters. So it's Speedster 24, Speedster 22, Sirocco 28, Sirocco 30, I think.
So, Charger to Sirocco is a pretty big jump.
Not really, because a Sirocco is a mid-B wing.
Mid-B?
And the Sirocco...
I thought it was low C.
No, if you go to a Sirocco, the Sirocco is still a C wing. Well, it's based on a C wing. It's the lightweight version of the C wing. I would be confident with 100 hours that you could make that jump, especially if you have someone to help you. So, like, if you were to come here, test some stuff out, it'd be a great thing. Because I don't want to make it sound like I'm coming off negative about a brand just because of the brand. The reason I don't love the Charger, I feel like the handling is pretty wooden. I feel like it's fairly high pressure, low result. B, more importantly, I really dislike the inflation characteristics of the Charger. What are your opinions? I know you've flown.
I have not flown one. I've ground handled them in 2 sizes.
Okay.
Resnack is in the chat. Shout out to you, brother.
Resnack.
Resnack. He's got a 28. He's been flying that thing. It's been working good for him. The other guy local to me, Michael, who I hope is watching. Mike, if you're watching, thank you for taking all those 6 shots of me, dude. Hawkins, that's him.
Yeah,
Michael
nice.
Hawkins, the man himself. He, by the way, is a also like a 500-hour general aviation guy, hot air balloonist.
He needs to take you flying.
Yeah,
But he better bring champagne, so you got to wait till you're 21.
Hawkins says, Liam, you would be crazy not to work with this great team. Make it work, homeboy.
Hawkins says, Liam, you'd be crazy
My
not to work with this
childhood-
great team.
My
Make
childhood
it work.
it's funny. He's besides my parents and my immediate family and the few friends I have left from high school. There's nobody that calls me that anymore.
So it's really funny. My first son was born July 29th, 8 years ago almost. And if he had been born in August, his name would not be August because that would have been too ironic. His name was going to be Liam. So I like you a little better now.
It's a winning name.
We're going to call you Liam from now on.
I guess if you want, yeah, you can be participant number 6 in that regard.
I like it. All right. What was the question? Let's go back up to that question. Mac Parrot, talk to me about your ground handling with Mac Parrot.
Okay.
Charger.
We took Michael's, and granted, this wasn't very low wind. This was like the week before I left to come here. It was actually that was a great day. We flew in the morning, or I did, and then we went to a local field, met that guy, got permission to fly there, and then we went and unboxed his brand new Mac Parrot charger. And him and his friend Don, who is coming here, by the way, we unboxed this brand new wing and we're ground handling it. And I didn't have we never did any forwards when I was there. We were all doing reverse hook-ins, but it had a tendency to front tuck with what felt to me like the normal amount of A-pull, and I was working on some little experimentations to conquer that. It's just a modification of technique. But besides that hard inflation, it's got a really hard power band.
It kind of stops. I tell people
Yeah.
it used to be this way with the old Roadster too. Also, you get it halfway up and it kind of stops, and you have to give it an extra little surge, and then it comes all the way up.
Right. So, but if you drive through that, it seems to fly nice once it's up.
Okay. So again, it's personal preference, guys, and you're not going to have a terrible glider with 95% of the glider brands out there. Again, try them all if you can. Go to a school that lets you use their equipment for free so you can have an experience on different gliders. Come to Aviator Days. If you guys haven't heard about Aviator Days yet, we still have, I think, 15 slots available. It's in December. You can come here for free, demo all of our equipment. We're only taking 4 people per day. You can go to aviatorppg.com, click on Aviator Days at the top of the page, and you can sign up for a day to come down here, pray for good weather, and hang out with our class.
Do a rain dance?
Yeah, hang out with our team, hang out with our class, and try everything we have in the wing trailer. There's a ton of stuff in there. Plus, we have EFI motors, we have Eclipses, Mavericks,
Spider 3s.
Spider 3s. We have everything. And so, yeah, we'd love to have you guys down here. Is it really harder for shorter folks to do foot drags, or does it just seem that way? Slow Days asks. I don't think we're able to answer that.
Depending, yeah. Well, you and I are possibly the least qualified people ever to answer
I'm
that.
6'4", he's 6'3". There's really no way to answer it.
Perhaps dependent on your frame geometry. There are some where the pilot is seated, perhaps for crumply reasons.
For crumply reasons.
The pilot is seated,
Higher
on the frame, and those are the ankle bumpers, the ones that hang quite low. So if you're a shorter fellow, maybe one of those is not the best choice. But I can't see any reason why not. Besides that,
Yeah, so my tips for foot dragging are always the same. Find a beautiful grassy field you don't mind landing in, and go into the wind. Get all the way out of your harness. Push your shoulders forward. 1 foot back, 1 foot forward. That back foot is your dragging foot. Don't try to foot drag the ground. Try to foot drag the tops of the grass.
that's exactly it. I am actually in the stage where I'm beginning to learn that. I've not even attempted it here. I'm not going to yet. I've still been terrified. Those delicate, dainty, lightweight Eclipses, man. I wanna,
You've been flying the Eclipse. That's right.
I want to keep that thing beautiful.
It's stronger than it looks.
Yeah, well, it's very robust.
We
It
use them in
doesn't-
our school. So.
My Sky Cruiser squeaks, and I can't. No matter how much WD-40 I spray at it, it does not stop. So, but that's exactly what I did. My fields, the area of New York that I live in is shaped by glaciers very heavily. So lots of rolling hills. not the best place to learn foot drags, but that's what I was doing, is just aiming for the tops of the grass. And actually, I bet my parents are probably either laughing or shaking their heads right now, because I was attempting a foot drag in front of them, and I had to kind of jack my brakes and blip the throttle a little bit to clear a little berm, and ended up mistiming and sliding on my knees right in front of them. And it was hilarious. You get to really get the feel for the difference between my parents, because my dad is standing there shaking his head and my mom is laughing at me.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
like, it's a great video. It's
Well,
awesome.
I want to really quickly address Slick Jimmy's questions. The next question down, Slick, I'm sorry for taking so long, buddy. We don't currently have any alliance partners in Arizona or even on the West Coast, with the exception of a new one that will be announced soon in the Pacific Northwest we're working on right now. But it's on our short list. One of our instructors here, his name is Fletch. He's one of our past students, incredibly passionate guy, and he used to live in Tucson. He goes by Marvelous. And you guys may know him as Fletch or Fletcher. He was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Fletch is an amazing guy, and he wants to go back to Arizona someday. So it may happen. It may be in the cards. I was just in Arizona 2 weeks ago, and I will say, being out in the desert, I hate dust. Mm-hmm. But I want to fly there.
Have you ever gone to the
badly.
Flying Circus before?
I've not. I know Mo, but I've never been to the Flying Circus. No. So as far as to go back to the question and the conversation about foot dragging, the one other piece of tip that I would give you, the other tips I would give you would be to fly with the maximum throttle possible and the minimum brake possible. So you want to add as much power as you can to not go up, and then add about a 1/4 inch brake pressure. So you release to drop down, you add to go up, and it's something you will run out a bunch of these. If you do it perfectly, you'll run out 100. And the next rule of thumb is you do 1,000 land foot drags on ground you're willing to land on. Mm-hmm. Then you do 1,000 water foot drags on a puddle you could run out of. And then you do 1,000 water foot drags on water that's not moving near the shore.
And at some point, you buy a power float.
No. Before you even start flying, buy a power float. It's the number one killer in our sport is water. Why wouldn't we have a power float? Mm-hmm. Seriously, guys, like, if you guys are interested, I will do a power float giveaway in the next live stream, okay? In fact, you know what? Here's what I want to do. I want you guys to leave a comment below if you don't have a power float yet. And next live stream, I'm going to give one away to somebody who needs one. They're $340. I have personally pulled a man out of the water who had said literally before he took off, and I asked him, I said, why don't you mount your floats? He said, well, I'm not going to fly over water. 90 seconds later, he was in the water, face down, helmet around the side of his face, one lung collapsed, orbital bone broken. This is not one of our students or anything, guys. This is just a guy who was flying at our field. And my brother James and I pulled him out of the water, okay? He had given up after 30 seconds in the water, maybe 40. Mm-hmm. And the gentleman had gotten out of all the straps in his harness without unclipping them, and he'd given up because he got tied up in the wing. My brother saved his life. I helped save James's life because the guy was fighting him tooth and nail because you go in that fight or flight response. He couldn't see anything. The helmet was sideways on his face. So guys, please, power floats are incredible. The 2B Sure is my favorite kit because it has two, so you have a redundancy system, which is really important. If you guys are interested in doing that next live stream, we'll put some promotion together through there. It's super imperative. And Ian Minushkin, I do know your LZs. You need a power float. You might need two. It's a very important thing. Bob Garber, I see you. Matt Allen, I see you as well. K-Ray, we will definitely do something for you all. John Worrell, you as well. It's guys, I don't care if you live in the middle of the desert. The reality is you're going to fly over water because we're drawn to it like moths to a flame. It's just gorgeous. So it's a big deal. All right. Fabio wanted to know if we're going to do any giveaways. I was thinking we'd give away... just kidding. You should have seen Nina's face behind the camera. John.
File the things you're showing on the screen.
Oh.
Let them share.
So we have a hashtag Fly All the Things shirt. We've talked about doing this for a long time. You guys can see this shirt right now. First off, I don't even have one yet. So if you want to get one before I have one, share the live stream right now. We're going to go for another 30 minutes at least. Share the live stream right now. And I want you guys to know that anybody who shares the live stream says shared, I'm going to pick someone to win this shirt. I'm also going to pick 2 people to win these little Aviator neck buffs. And then later on, we'll give away a few more things. So I want a hashtag fly all the things shirt though, please.
Helmet.
Can I get a medium long?
Medium long.
Medium long. Excellent. All right. Let's see. So you guys go ahead and share. We'll make things happen. For those, Patrick Ryan asked, "What's the best place? Where are the best places to mount the floats?" I see some on the shoulder straps and some on the frame beside the harness. My opinion on this is really based upon a lot of experience, because I fly over water and I water foot drag like mad. It's one of my favorite things to do. I like to go upside down, and I like to water foot drag.
Because I was inverted.
Because I was inverted. So I put them on my shoulder straps. It does tear the outer sheath eventually, particularly if you don't have them adjusted properly, but it does not affect the usability whatsoever. So I put them here because I want to float face up, even if my tank is empty, right? So I put them in a place where I know I'm going to stay safer. With students and stuff like that, where they're in and out of the harness a lot, we'll oftentimes put them on the side because, A, we don't fly them over water very much. We try to keep them away from the water.
Yeah.
And you want to have it easier for them to get in and out. But if you're flying it for your personal unit, I like shoulder straps. It's a much better decision, in my opinion. Let's jump back to the chat really quickly. We're going to pick a winner for our hashtag fly all the things because... Oh, come on. Come on, one more minute. One more minute. You've got 1 minute to share Twitter, Facebook, somewhere. What we're going to do is we're going to give this away. And let me explain a little bit about why we have this. So I created this hashtag about a year ago. There's actually a guy on Instagram who has the handle also. I didn't know that. He's friends with a lot of my friends, apparently. I believe that flight changes who you are as a person, and it doesn't matter what you fly. We got to know the flight test guys 2 years ago, where they're building foam board airplanes, right?
Yep.
And they love it, and the people are enamored, and the families, like fathers and sons. Like I've built foam board airplanes with my kids, and really it's mainly Sam or Josh who's helped us because I'm not that great. But it's been a great experience. Then I got into flying drones. I fly airplanes. I fly butt fans, and I put a hashtag fly all the things because one day I flew a race drone, I flew a DJI Inspire. I flew my airplane, and I flew a Paramotor. I was like, hashtag fly all the things. We did all the things. So it kind of caught on a little bit. So if you like to fly all the things, you need this T-shirt. I'm going to go ahead and pick somebody. I'm going to let Nina pick because she's behind the camera. Nina, we got the winner? All right, Slow Days, SLO Days. You've won the T-shirt, sir. Slow Days, email us, info@aviatorppg.com, or send us a message right here on Facebook or YouTube. We'll be happy. Actually, YouTube is harder to find messages, so Facebook or email, please. A winner for our neck buff, Andre Gamrillion. Nice to see you, my friend. This is actually a cool story. Andre, out of the blue, from Louisiana. I guess he had an exhaust issue. Shows up. As many do. He shows up out of the blue for a week vacation with us on Saturday. So Andre's one of our past students. Glad to have you back, Andre. You've won one. And Nina, you picked the last one. Oh, you won this. It's, oh, shoot. Man down, man down. It's a neck buff. So it's in Florida, it's used to keep you from being sunburned. And in New York, it's used to keep you from dying of cold.
Yeah.
Bruce Sroka, you are the last one to win, my friend. Bruce, congratulations on that. We'll do a few more giveaways shortly. Bruce, congratulations. Somebody asked when and where they can buy these shirts if they want the shirt. John, can you post a link for them?
It's below the video.
It's below the video.
It's on the
Just
screen on
scroll down a little bit, and you can find it on YouTube. On Facebook, it'll be the description. But yes, if you go to shop.aviatorppg.com, you should be able to find it, as well as our Teespring or wherever else John has it going, because John's amazing. Patrick Ryan says PPG is totally life-changing. I agree.
It's hard to argue with that one.
It is. Alex Diaz, how many days do we have left until you come and train, my friend? How is the project of the fitness video? We have all the exercises laid out. My buddy Marcus, who's our team doctor on the Paradigm team, he's putting this whole thing together. He's a personal trainer, chiropractor. He's brilliant. And he put together everything he thinks would be necessary. And because he is who he is, which is a very good-looking man who's an eligible bachelor, he said that we need fitness models to film it. So he's working on the fitness models, and then we'll film it. This is out of my hands, guys. I understand if some of you guys feel like that is a bad idea, that we should have average paramotor pilots filming the exercises, but he says that fitness models would be a better candidate to get people to actually watch. So that's apparently what's happening. No promises.
Fitness models on the beach doing tandems in exchange for kisses.
That is the traditional.
I feel like you're
Do you know
quoting
who-
a video.
You know, I am. I was
Yeah.
hoping you'd get that reference.
That was so creepy.
Yeah, wasn't it? I don't think
I
any of
died
those.
a little inside.
I don't think any of those people were actually tandem certified either.
No, they weren't.
No.
All right, Brandon Hughes asks, buttholes open in flight okay or kiting only? Does it make any difference? Now, what he's talking about is the LBH, which is the Ozone's Black Sheep Technology LBH, leaky butthole. Do you know what this is?
No.
Okay, so on the outer tip
Oh,
cell,
it's Velcroed.
it's a
Okay,
Velcro
all
thing,
right.
so you can get
Yep.
sand out of the back, right? So the it's designed to allow you to get sand, any kind of crap that's inside your wing, out of it without having to dump the wing upside down.
I've never heard that referred to as a leaky butthole, but yeah, I know what those are.
So Ozone made a play because a lot of other designers were coming up with all these different acronyms. Like if you look at Dudek's spec sheet, there's like 74 acronyms for all the different technologies in their wing.
Right.
So Ozone made BST. Bull Technologies, or Black Sheep Technologies, what they call themselves, the Black Sheep. And one of the things they made was the LBH, the leaky butthole. To answer your question, you can fly with the LBH open, but it will reduce the amount of pressure in your glider, just as you might imagine it would. If you want to watch a video where that was done recently, AJ, or Akbots on YouTube, has a video recently where he's flying a Spider around, doing wingovers with the LBHs open. I personally choose not to, just for extra safety, because I'm really kind of annoyingly perfectionist when it comes to like things I have control over. All right, I'm going to give this one to you, Will. Would you say free flying first helps motoring, or just go straight to motoring? I see a lot of pilots have problems that are addressed in free flight instruction. That's from Kevin Can Fly.
If you have the opportunity to do free flight first, free flight by its very nature demands so much more wing control. It demands so much more knowledge of how the air is working around you. So I would say it is definitely easier to translate into motor from free flight. However, there are several aspects of motor flying that do not translate well, such as if you are launching a motor, please do not torpedo.
Yeah, don't lean forward. It's not going to work well for
It
you.
will not work.
My take is kind of indifferent.
Okay.
I think that either one you do first will help you with the other. I love free flying. Like Shane Denherter put it this way 6 years ago. He was here. 5 years ago, he was here. He was getting the first Scout. And we were flying it here, and we had a wonderful week together. And he used to say that paramotors are like video games. You turn the machine on, and you play whenever you want. Free flying is the opposite. A lot of time is spent on the hill para-waiting, waiting for the perfect conditions, waiting for the wind to turn around, waiting for the thermals to calm down, waiting for something to happen. What I feel is that paramotoring is instant satisfaction, instant gratification, and it is still magic. But free flying, well, we'll go to Costa Rica when you come work for us. The first time you look down at the launch site, 30 seconds after you launch, and you realize you're 1,000 feet above it or 500 feet above it,
Yeah.
and you're looking down, and you can hear the wind whistling through the lines, and you can feel every twitch in the air. It's as close to being a bird as you possibly can be. It is godlike. You can reach out and touch God's face the whole time. It's a very special thing. So, in my opinion, they both build on each other, and they're both really powerful and really good. So either direction is a really good thing to do. It really doesn't matter which one you do first. I was a motor pilot first, and I got my P3 after about a week of flying free flight. It's really a question of how willing you are to learn and willing you are to listen and go to specialized classes.
That's another bucket list item for me, totally. One of our local guys, Andrew, who's actually an instructor, is a regular out at Torrey Pines. I watch his videos and I get so jealous. It's like, oh, dude, come on. Like, I want to do that so much.
Well, the best part about Torrey Pines is they're flying over a nudist beach, which is kind of terrifying. It's
Exactly.
also one of my
That's
favorite
right.
surf breaks in the world. All right, I'm going to address this one because I have to. He's posted it a couple of times. He says, hi, my name is Morgan Bryan. I'm 10 years old, and I have an Atom 80. How soon do you think I can fly? So, Morgan, first off, you have a way nicer motor than he does.
By far. by far.
At just over half his age. The Atom 80 is an incredible motor. As far as your age goes, it's really a question of what your parents believe. I know of pilots of the age of 8 flying.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine in Utah built I think it's a 4-stroke, might be a 2-stroke, 2-cylinder little.
I've seen it. That custom, the green one.
Yeah,
with
the green one.
Yep.
So he taught his son to fly at 8 years old. My 7-year-old is incredibly mature, but my personal belief is that a lot of what age brings is brain development.
Mm-hmm.
They say that a man's brain doesn't fully develop until they're 25, I think it is.
I can believe that.
So it's definitely a delicate balance between brain development and safety, and also physical stamina. So here at Aviator, we allow people 14 years of age who are able to sprint 100 yards with 60 pounds on their back. They can come and learn to fly with us. Mm-hmm. Because we want to guarantee the most success possible. They have to obviously have a parent signature on the release forms, etc. But I think it's incredible that you already have equipment. Kite a whole bunch, build your physical fitness, and find a great instructor to keep you safe.
I would be interested to know what wing a 10-year-old uses.
Well, that's a tough balance, right? Because even my buddy Russ's son, who's flying at 8, he's flying a wing that's, quite frankly, he's much undersized on. Mm-hmm. So there's not very many beginner 16-meter wings.
I think at 10 years old, I was maybe 80 pounds.
Right.
If that.
So August, my son, is around 58 pounds, I think, or 60 pounds at 7. And he's really big for his age. And I guess he's almost 8. There's not a single wing that I would safely put him on and have him within the weight range. I'd have to weight him, which now you're going to put 40 pounds weight on a kid and ask him to run with additional weight. And that would be really tough. So I would say it's definitely a delicate balance. So... but yeah, I think it's incredible you're already a part of this. Good for you, man. That's really cool. Parker says he's 25 is fully developed. He's 38, not fully developed. Another one says that you peak at 25 and you're down 50% a year later. I love it. There's some great comments here. CT PPG says he just got back from an Alliance school. Which one? Connecticut PPG. And I live in Connecticut. Any way to connect with local Connecticut pilots? Absolutely. There's lots of resources at your fingertips. You can email us, info@aviatorppg.com. We'll help connect you. Talk to your instructor, and they'll help connect you with past students. And finally, you have resources like Facebook. There are going to be Northeastern Paramotor Pilots Group, reddit.com/r/paramotor. Yep. That you can post up there and find local pilots too. And there's a guy who commented after you, Craig, who's one of the nicest people on the entire planet. And he happens to live on Rhode Island. I don't remember where. No, Nantucket.
Nantucket.
Yes. So he can connect you too.
There once was a man
who lived. Yeah. So Craig is one of our one-legged foot launch pilots who freaking rocked it.
That's right. I saw his video.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He
Super cool.
it.
Super cool. Buzzin' Baz says, what do you prefer to fly in, turbulent air reflex or trimmered paragliders? I trust paragliders active flying above reflex. William.
Okay, so by trimmered paragliders, he's meaning a traditional paraglider with motor risers.
Yes.
The reflex profile and the additional loading on the front creates something that is more stable and more dynamic, and yet also less forgiving somewhat in the event of collapse, especially accelerated, because when a lot of these reflex wings, or perhaps all of them, do not have that profile until you are at least trimmed out or accelerated. Am I correct?
So Ozon's wings go into partial reflex trimmed out. They go to full reflex fully accelerated. Mm-hmm. You and I had a discussion yesterday about reflex versus non-reflex and how you fly in turbulent air. I had always lived this idea of, first off, by the way, for those of you guys in the chat who are watching, I now know that John and Nina were stealing the camera, and I love it. It makes me super happy. There's a minor error, and they switched cameras to their own, which is awesome. I know there's a camera, man. You didn't know it. That's amazing. So the thing to keep in mind is there's two different rules of thought. For a long time, when the reflex profile came out, the concept was that if you trimmed out and you stepped on speed bar, the wing couldn't collapse.
Not the case.
The Titanic also couldn't sink.
Yes.
All right. So my perspective was when I first got to reflex wings was when it got turbulent, which in Florida, late mornings, very turbulent air, trim in, actively pilot. I then went to Czech Republic 6 years ago, and we flew a ton. We get in the paramotors, fly 2-3 hours, go land at a castle somewhere, go land at a winery, whatever. And I was flying the slowest wing. I was flying a 22-meter Hadron. Everyone else was on 16 and 18 Snakes and Hadrons. Like, I was flying the slowest wing. And they're all reflex and speed barred the whole way, everywhere, including in rainstorms. We flew in a rainstorm for like 50 minutes, an hour. Like, it was, my wing weighed like 60 pounds. It was full of water, right? And no one experienced a single collapse the entire 10 days we were there. That changed my perspective a lot. So when I came home from that trip, I was flying. I went up to help Jeff Goen move into his house, which is about an hour drive, about an hour paramotor flight. And I flew up, landed, helped move boxes of paragliding Bibles, V4s or V3s. And then I got the paramotor and flew home. And it was midday, and it was turbulent, really turbulent. I mean, the thermals were booming, and I was full bar, full trims the whole way home, and I hit this thermal about 1.5 miles from the house. The idea, what's the big guy in the Green Mile that looks like a mountain? Duncan something. The guy's like 6'8", 400 pounds of pure muscle. It felt like he slugged me in the face. Michael what? Michael Clark Duncan. All right, this thermal was just like slam me in the face, and you could feel the heat, and the wing surges, and I'm on full bar, and I've been going through thermals like it's nothing, and I hit this thermal, and it was probably a 600, 700 foot per minute, like it was whatever, stupid fast. Yeah. And I hit it, and I flinched, and I pulled my legs in, and I dropped that reflex profile in. The wing collapsed like crazy. I don't know if the wing would have stayed together if I stayed on bar. I was able to actively pilot and get it into control. I immediately zipped the trims in, actively piloted, got it reopened, flew away, flew home. But it leaves me to this point where it's just like anything else in flying and in life. You accept the amount of risk that you accept. And there are some things that are beyond your risk profile. And you have to determine what your risk profile is, how much you want to trust technology or trust your expertise. So I don't really have a great answer for you on that, Buzz and Buzz. He also asked, would you trust a Dudek reflex wing cutting through a strong turbulence above active flying a paraglider with trimmers? That's basically what I just told you. I was flying a Hadron 20 or 22 at the time. I didn't trust it. I was able to recover it. It's really a delicate balance of what's your experience versus your trust in the designers. All right, lots of people watching, guys. Big shout out to Travis Martin and all the others who are new back here joining us tonight. Thrilled to have you guys. Patrick Eyeball, again, good to see you. When is the How to Tie a Tip Steering video coming out? This next week. We had it done, and there were some issues with some of the things that we filmed. And so some of you guys may remember Micah from last year. Micah was our video intern last year. He graduated college 2 weeks ago. The next day, he got married. His wife is going through training right now with us. They're going to live here for at least the summer and potentially longer. Mike is going to be an intern instructor this week, potentially an instructor in the future, and he's going to be helping us with media, helping John along. So keep an eye out for that video soon. Mike Tiffy, I like turtles too, dude, and I'm really sad you're not going to be home next month, or next week, I guess it is. I would love to see you. So let's stay in touch, man. I'm actually going to stop in Charleston, I think, and try to do some flying there. So, yeah, stay in touch, Mike. I like turtles. Craig Taylor asked, does the Aviator and Volo helmet have the ability to hear what the pilot is saying in their own ear? Is it just a setting I need to find in my radio menus? It does not have side tone. It was a personal preference thing. I don't prefer side tone. I find it to be distracting when I'm listening to music. Yeah. So I did not have that integrated, but I'm sure it's something you could add if you were tech savvy enough. I don't know. Farrell, your basic course and starter equipment cost. The course at most of our Alliance schools are actually, all of them is $3,500 for up to anywhere from 7 to 15 days of training, depending on where you go. That includes all the use of the equipment you need, so you don't have to buy anything before you train. So you're making a $3,500 decision instead of a $10,000 or $15,000 decision. I had a couple contact me last week that has spent $32,000 before they started training for 2 of them. I was like, holy crap, I'm so sorry. And then they had issues with their instructor, and it was a bad news bears kind of situation. As far as your starter equipment goes, most of our customers are spending on new equipment between $11,000 and $12,000, and of course we do offer in-house financing, so we can definitely help out with the cost. We're not the cheapest, but we endeavor to offer the best service. Let's see, how long does a parachute last? I'll let you handle this one, Will. I'm running out of breath.
The parachute. Well,
It's not called a parachute.
it's not called a parachute, for your information. Maybe he did mean a parachute.
Do you realize what you're watching right now? This is
you
not
realize what
powered
you're watching?
parachutes.
It's a wing.
It's a wing.
It's a wing. Just so you know. If it is a reserve parachute, if well kept, I think, what is it? It's is it 5 years where a rigger will not touch it anymore, or is it
On a reserve?
on a reserve?
Oh,
yeah, 'cause
much
we'll
longer.
We'll start with a parachute. 10.
Much longer. So a reserve parachute, for instance, the one that I have in my skydive rig, I think is around 13 years old.
Really?
And as long as it's repacked every 6 months, it's still active. And
I
even if it's not packed that often, it's still usable.
I have one in my bedroom from 1985.
You're probably still good to go as long as it passes a porosity test.
I want to send it off for a porosity test, and I don't know if they will laugh at it or make me cut it up. Or
when you
if
move
they'll
down
cut it
here,
up or something.
when you move down here, there's a rigger right down the street.
Really? Awesome. Well, that would be great. I'll bring it with me.
Hey, it sounded like a positive answer.
Space will be limited in the U-Haul trailer, but I'll throw it in there. As far as a wing goes, everybody is saying the standard answer to that question has always been 300 hours.
But I found that that's not true anymore.
It's not. And
Modern materials, man.
that's 300 hours, varying greatly upon how much UV you get. If you're flying like we've been flying, where it's early morning, overcast,
Yeah.
who knows? Longer than 300 hours. If you are flying off of manicured lawn, that's great. If you're flying off of rough gravel and asphalt, that's less than great, especially with the lightweight fabric that these new wings have been going towards. If you're doing what I do and using my dad's tree climbing harness to kite, and that, by the way, is my working theory on how that hole appeared, is when I sling the wing over my shoulder, I think there's a hook there, and I think that's what's doing it. I've got it dialed now.
Oh my
Don't
Lord.
do that. Just buy a kiting harness.
One of the things that I thought was really interesting is probably the most unloved wing that we owned was Kyle's Freeride 15. This is a wing that literally got left out overnight at the Owensboro Air Show, I think it was, outside of a hangar at the airport. Not packed, just like left outside of the hangar. It's a wing that regularly got launched and landed on asphalt. It's a wing that's did over 350 hours in its first year. It was sent in for inspection and passed with flying colors. The bottom surface is lightweight fabric. We were very shocked because he sats it one direction only. He doesn't like to sat both ways. He only sats one way. And no line stretch, no
Really?
issues. We were very impressed. As the technology has advanced, the lifetime value of the wing is definitely a big difference. Definitely a big difference. All right. Kevin, with the increase of PPG pilots, do you think the FAA will require PPG mini ADS-B systems like they soon to be on DJI drones, and would you embrace it?
That's for you,
Come on,
Mr. General Aviation.
All right. With the increase in paramotor pilots, do I think ADS-B is the future? I think for the safety of the paramotor pilot and the safety of general aviation pilots, it could be. Would I embrace it? Absolutely. Absolutely. If it was affordable, ADS-B, I have ADS-B in my airplane. It's not affordable. But I'm planning on doing some long flights. I was supposed to fly to endless foot drag, and I literally went to Sun and Fun with the mentality of I'm buying ADS-B specifically to keep myself safe. I recently flew from here to South Georgia at 200 miles an hour, 185 miles an hour, and I didn't see a single other airplane the whole way. I know they're up there. There's a ton of
Yeah,
them.
they're around.
My buddy Nicholas, we call him Little Nick. He flies a Pitt Special. He flew it from here to Oshkosh last year. He saw no airplanes, not one other airplane in the sky, until he was near Oshkosh. That's across the whole country. ADS-B increases pilot awareness so significantly. I was flying my family up to my family's home on the beach last year in the 172, and we're taking off, and we're climbing out slow as all heck because we're all in the airplane, and all of a sudden ADS-B goes, biding, goes traffic, 2 o'clock, same altitude, 1 mile. I look, I'm climbing real slow. I see this Velocity Canard 4-seat or 5-seat airplane doing 200 and something miles an hour, zipping right at me. He doesn't see me. I see him because of the ADS-B. With it comes responsibility. It comes, if you're forced to fly with ADS-B and you're flying in controlled airspace without permission, they'll know. Which a lot of people don't like that. A lot of ultralight guys are like, they're old school. They're like, we're the pirates of the air, and I understand that freedom and people don't want to be controlled, but I like the safety aspect. I would love for airplanes to know where I am. So I don't know that it'll be something that's immediately addressed. I don't see it in 3 years even. I mean, ADS-B in airplanes is like a 5-year program, and they keep extending it. So I don't know for sure, Kevin. I love the idea in theory. Right now, that's very expensive. When we did our Infinite Tumble World Record attempt, it ended up costing us a ridiculous amount of money because we had to have this skydive plane that dropped David Tejero out of the airplane at 23,000 feet. He had to circle him all the way down to 14,000, and at $650 an hour plus fuel. It takes a long time to get to 14,000 on a paraglider. Yeah. So if we could have afforded to buy a transponder that could amount to them cheap and easy, that would have been so much preferred. So we'll see. Robert Durbin, how would you handle the perception of GA pilots at a private airport where flying is more of a privilege than a right as a taxpayer? Will?
At the end of the day, you're all pilots. You're all flying, and if you are at your private airport, well,
courtesy is king.
Courtesy is king. DBAD. If you've got a bunch of Part 93 snobs who are 91. Well, see, I don't even know. I don't even care to know your FARs, bro.
I know 103, and it's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters. That's all I care about. If you've got a snobby GA guy, maybe just make yourself minimal and let him be jealous of the fact that you don't have hangar rentals or inspections or licenses. Maybe you can, if you're a super swanky paramotor pilot, you can throw out your USPPA member ID card.
Oh, jeez.
Just so you know, I'm PPG 1 rated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way I've always looked at it is education helps a lot.
Yeah.
So like we just had an airport users meeting here that we hosted at our shop, just to help educate local fixed-wing pilots on what to expect when they fly in here. Using communication that they understand can be very helpful. We teach a class that's literally how to talk on the radio. How to talk on an nav-band radio. It doesn't seem like something that would be important, but if you're going to go to a busy airport, particularly one that's private where you don't have rights to use,
Right.
Which are rights you can lose for all of us if you're rude, it's really important to educate. So explain to them what your maneuverability is. Explain to them what your requirements are for landing and takeoff space. Explain to them, how they can see you and what altitude you'll be at. Being courteous is everything, and putting yourself in a position where you understand, particularly at a private airport, that you're there out of the grace of their heart, right? And most of these pilots are predominantly old guys. Sadly,
Yeah.
that's the reality of aviation today. And people don't like change. They're terrified of it. But it's amazing how quickly, because everyone who's involved in aviation is extremely passionate about it, right? And you get a group of old guys. I was part of an EAA chapter when I was 13. I joined. And I started going to these nighttime aircraft welding classes they hosted.
Yeah.
Mind you, I'm the youngest member by at least 40 years. What became very quickly apparent was how much they were excited to share aviation with me. Even though I was into ultralights and stuff, they were all into antiques. They were incredible men that helped form who I am today because they saw me as the next generation. And even if you're a 50-year-old paramotor pilot, being able to showcase the amount of growth that we have, there's no question at all that paramotors are the fastest growing segment of aviation right now. There's nobody out there learning to fly paramotor or learning to fly airplanes at the same rate and scale that we're teaching them, even just with our schools. So it's a big deal. It's a really cool thing. So be gracious and help educate. John Adams asks, what is considered an experienced pilot, Will?
It's tough to quantify experienced in terms of how many flight hours. Would you agree? Because there is such a variability in people's judgment, in people's physicality, in people's perception. So you can take one person with 5 hours and he might be similarly skilled to a person with 15 hours just because of the differences in those two people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I know pilots with hundreds of hours who still make terrible decisions and
Right.
post them all over YouTube.
Well, that is the crux of what I'm about to say, and that is you need to be reflective on yourself. There is really no place for hubris or arrogance.
There's a good word.
Yeah, not hummus, hubris.
Oh, I'm hungry. Hummus sounds great.
Yeah. Good chance my mom is eating that while watching this.
Hi, Mom.
Hi,
Hi,
Ma.
Dad. My
Hi,
parents
Ma.
are watching too, man. My wife's watching.
Awesome.
The whole
I
crowd's
saw
here.
I saw your dad in the chat.
Yeah, yeah.
He's such a great guy too, by
Dude,
the way.
he's my favorite.
Yeah, he is the best.
I like him way more than you.
That's not surprising. I cannot grow a mustache. So
That is a problem.
that's a problem.
Job offer retracted. No.
There we go. No, there's no more 20-hour drive, so that's good.
No, I agree with you. I think that it's not so much about what makes an experienced pilot to me. You can be a very experienced pilot and make terrible decisions that put other people at risk, put yourself at risk. I think that what makes an excellent aviator is someone who contemplates the effect that every decision you make will have on yourself and everyone around you.
Right. It's very important to be introspective.
Yep. It's part of what makes flying so special.
Another great vocabulary word.
Ah,
We're really
fantastic.
dropping them tonight.
Dropping them like it's hot.
I hope my English teacher sees this. 'Cause he'll be, wow,
Will you be proud?
flabbergasted.
Flabbergasted. Jilly G. Willikers. Mitch Briggs asks, which flotation type do you recommend for the Maverick? I see you have a few styles, and what size reserve for it? I'm 220 pounds. Reserve, starting from the back and going forward, or reverse, I would say Angel Square 140 for the reserve, just due to your weight. And for the flotation, 100% the power float to be sure. It has two individual canisters, two individual firing systems, and either one should float you no problem. Mount them on your shoulder straps and avoid moving water. Stay over stuff that doesn't try to pull your wing out to sea.
And on the same note, I have seen videos, multiple, where a person lands next to moving water, the wing goes into the water, and then they go into the water.
This happened to Tyson
So-
Russell. He was here a few weeks ago, and he was, I guess, about 6 weeks ago now, and he landed by a river. I guess he had an engine out or something, and his wing fell in the river, and it sucked him out.
Yep.
So he didn't have flotation. He does now.
If you are in the vicinity of deep water, wear flotation.
If you're in the vicinity of water over 6 inches, I have a friend who was paragliding, and he tripped on tow. He was being towed by a boat. Paragliding, tripped on tow, went into the water. It was like 6 to 12 inches deep. Wing fell on top of him, and he almost drowned. If so, there wasn't someone there to help him, he almost drowned because he was just tied up in the lines, could not get up.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds silly, but like flotation's a huge deal. It really is. Ty, do you recommend staying at the top or bottom of a wing's weight range, or does the wing determine your final answer?
Top. Stay at the top. That's what I would say.
Generally, yes, unless you're a bare bones beginner, in which case just school your inch and
Unless
put
you
in
are the bare bones.
low to middle.
I find it is best, or what I, in my Reddit comment history, what I have always said is in the neighborhood of 9 to 10.5 pounds per square meter. Do you agree?
So my 19 pounds per square meter on my free ride's not good?
Yeah, you're a little nuts. You're a little,
I think I'm 16.9.
you're a little cray, but
No, I agree. Wing loading, it really depends on the efficiency of the glider too. Like if you're on a Delta 3, you're going to be loaded completely differently because it's so efficient.
the common answer is give yourself a margin of about 20 to 30 pounds, maybe less than that, maybe 10 to 15 for auxiliary gear that you might take with you. But the general answer that you'll find is stay as close to the top as possible.
Yeah, I like to train students on wings that they're in the middle of the weight range for. In their first flights, they're generally in the lower end of the weight range because it's perfect conditions. And then I like to sell them wings that they're in the top 75 to 80% of the weight range for, depending on their skill level. For instance, we had a student here a few weeks ago, Phil, who was about mid-range, but he's a little bit older guy, and he wanted a foot launch. He did not have any interest in triking, so we let him foot launch, and he worked for it super hard. But he got a wing that's a little larger than I normally would have sold someone if he would have been 15 years younger, a little more fit. So it depends on age, depends on your altitude, depends on a lot of different factors. We have a guy who's trying to buy gear from us right now in Colorado Springs. He's launching at 6,000 feet. And I've told him, like, you're 220 pounds, which should mean you could fly a Mojo 31, but you're going to fly it on a trike, which is going to add 30 pounds to it. And you're not getting any younger. You're flying a really heavy paramotor.
Yep.
So really, you need a Mag Max 2 38. You need a small tandem wing to be able to have that safe, broad range because of density altitude. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and that's why we really we encourage you guys to ask your instructors. Your instructors will help you. Huge welcome to Never Trust a Skinny Chef Shane, Diane, Nicole, Kylo Glee. Good to see you as always.
Kylo, what's up, dude?
One of these years, I'll actually get to meet you face to face. I would love to see that, my friend. Kyle, we're talking to Karma Commando on Reddit. His name is Will. He came down just to be on the podcast, hang out with us for a few days because we followed all of his comments on Reddit, and they were so gracious and so kind that we wanted to actually, offer him some respect because he puts in a ton of time to help the entire community at large, and B, we needed a good guest for this week. We didn't have one, so we're like, let's buy you a plane ticket. And he told us he'd sleep anywhere, including his car, so it was easy.
You can't fit my car on a plane, but you could try.
A big enough plane.
Maybe a C-130.
All right.
You've got that access.
How much do you know about the ozone Kona?
Not much.
Okay.
To be honest,
I'll answer this one
I know
then.
it's an A-wing.
Nope.
Okay. Well, take it away.
All right. Peyton Jones says, I've been looking at the store and had a wing question. What would you consider the difference between the Roadster and the Kona? I haven't found out much on the Kona from you guys or anywhere else. Okay. So the Kona is based on the Ozone Buzz Z5. The Buzz Z5 is a phenomenal low-B paragliding wing. It's extraordinarily efficient. It has a fantastic roll rate. It does have some oscillation side to side, particularly when heavily weighted. But the Kona was designed with trimmers, so it's still a B glider, but it's designed to be a crossover wing for pilots. For instance, I've had pilots like Ross Gassaway who knew they were going to do free flying as well as motoring, and they wanted to have a wing for both. The Kona is a perfect cross. It doesn't have the speed range of a Roadster. Roadster has a trim range is about triple the length. It doesn't have as much roll stability.
It's under beginner on the chart.
Right, it's beginner to intermediate.
Right.
It's a low B. So with that said, the encouragement certainly would be that if you want to free fly, you want to ridge soar, you want to get into thermaling, buy a Kona. For everything else, buy a Roadster or a Spider. For everything else. Matt Allen says, I'm near the bottom of my range, but at 5,500 feet, is that okay? AC 200, Angel Square, Roadster 3. If you are near the bottom of your range and you're at 5,500 feet, you have to think about the density, altitude, and what that does to your wing loading, right? I think you sound like you're in a perfect range right now. That sounds fantastic, Matt. Kyle Oakley says, buy me a plane ticket. Jeff Booth says he'll pitch in. Jeff's one of our past students.
I would
Love
pitch
Jeff.
in to have Kylo on here.
Okay, we
great,
got
yeah.
Will pitching in too. All right, so
I didn't say how much, but I will.
Kyle, send us an email. Set up a GoFundMe. We'll all pitch in. We'll get you set up. Send me an email. Let me know what your schedule is, and we'll get you on the show next week. We're gonna have Alex Huff, who's one of our engineers. He is the designer and inventor of our incredible EFI system. You see, or can't really see on the unit behind us. He will be here very soon. What's that? Oh, as well as the throttle, strobes, lots of other stuff that we've developed. Alex has been incredibly instrumental. He'll be on the live stream next week to share all the details about why he left his day job to create butt fan projects because of his belief that this changes lives too. All right. Fabio, what are your thoughts on printing things on wings? Do you know where I can find someone that does that?
Well, it's funny. We were just I was just talking with Kate about this today because we have a wing. I hope they folded it by now. We have a wing that we were supposed to ship out that had some custom print jobs done on it, and it was in this crazy italicized font, which cannot possibly be legible
from a distance of more than 30 feet. So
It looks cool though.
It looks cool. Also, on that note, we were talking about how the ozone wings with the bottom skin being white only. There's quite a few where both surfaces of the wing are colored, and quite a few of them also have black trim.
Mm-hmm.
So there are quite a few that are not very great for text. Maybe there's like a legality thing too, because under 103 you're not allowed to have any flight operation that you're paid for. So don't go selling your wing out for billboard space and collecting the Benjamins.
So there are some ways around that under
Paradigm.
103. So like with Paradigm, we do not get paid ever for flying.
Mhm.
We are paid an appearance fee to do the other events that we do at air shows. There's a guy, when I first got in the sport, who had an AirTran wing. The AirTran bought him. There's a guy with a Honda wing that Honda bought him, but they didn't pay him. A lot of our students will buy a glider and a motor combo, and they'll write it off as advertising expense for their companies.
Charlie Soap.
Charlie Soap,
Charlie
exactly.
Soap.
James Sutherland.
There you go.
So there are opportunities out there where, I mean, if you could take a 2-week vacation, learn to fly, and then write the whole thing off as a marketing expense for your business, that's kind of nice.
That would be pretty
Particularly
sick,
if you're
yeah.
successful and you want to buy like 5 wings, we'll logo them all. To answer the rest of your question, we actually have a 6-foot wide vinyl cutter. It's more than a vinyl cutter, it's a plotter, and you might be able to see it in the edge of the frame. There's a whole bunch of vinyl up there. Not just vinyl, but we also have a plethora of what do they call it? It's a ripstop fabric that has ridiculously sticky stuff on the back of it, and it's very, very thin. It's used for markings on sails for sailboats. Stuff is the biggest pain in the butt to work with. It's such a pain in the butt. We finally put it on the Paradigm pylons because the pylons get crumpled down, they get rained on, and the vinyl will just fall off.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't fall off, hasn't for a season and a half. But it's ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
So cost-wise, you're looking at between $400 and $800 for a standard size logo from us. Additional to that, if you wanted to, you can go to Ozone. We can custom order you an Ozone wing, and they will customize everything about it. On the cheapest side, you're looking at like $2,000 for the customizations. On the most expensive side, I've seen $6,000 to $8,000, but that's completely customized and it's all sewn in. It's stitched in. It's part of the design. So there's lots that can be done. All right, let's see. Never trust a skinny chef. So when I get my wing, I want to put my son's cancer ribbon on the wing. He died at the age of 19. I just want to fly with him. Oh, I'm gonna get emotional. I just lost my brother at 22 last year. I'm really sorry for your loss, Shane. That's brutal. Contact me personally. My email is eric@aviatorppg.com. I will be happy to help you find a way to get that on your wing, on me. So send me an email when it comes time to order your wing. Let me know what color, and I'll be praying for you, and I hope to fly with you someday. One of the best things I can say I've ever done is I got to fly with my dad and my brother a few days after James died, and we flew over where he died. We flew over our house, and there's no question that we were flying with him, and we still are. So, yeah, reach out to me, man. That's awful. A very dear friend of mine who's also in this chat landed from his first flight, and he lost his daughter, and he looked me in the eyes and said that he got to fly with her, and that's I'm getting teary. But yeah, it brings us closer. So email me. It's on me. We'll make it happen. All right. Changing tone. James Dunn, when would you buy a Roadster over the Spider? Will, you got to talk so I can wipe my eyes.
That's all right. Well, the Spider's essentially a Roadster with lighter fabric. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if you are flying perhaps from an area with a bit rougher terrain, the Roadster is a bit heavier in construction. I don't know if it would be more resilient to UV. I don't think so. But
No.
in terms of rougher terrain, if you're somebody that's doing a lot of desert flying or flying from blacktop or
Right.
anything abrasive, the Roadster's fabric is going to be more durable.
I agree. Pretty much the only time I would say it's wise to buy the Roadster over the Spider, if you're flying a trike, The idling prop blast from a trike can inflate a lightweight wing. We do our tandems on a Swiftmax, which is a lightweight, phenomenal tandem wing. But on a trike, it's extremely challenging to launch because just barely touching the throttle, the thing's all over the place because it's so lightweight. So a heavier wing there is not an issue. Flying off of a beach, the abrasion of the sand, particularly if you're in abrasive sand, like Costa Rica, that sand is so thick, it abrades wings like mad. If you're flying off Siesta Key where it's like, powdered sugar, whatever. We have students and customers who've bought lightweight wings, like Max Levine. I believe he has a Roadster in Long Island because it made more sense, because he's going to fly off the beach all the time. It's the only place he's going to fly. So consider your layout location, your landing location more than anything else. All right. Didn't drone rules make YouTube monetization illegal? Does FAR 103 do the same thing? Jamie, that's a really delicate balance. If you were getting paid solely for your flying, and you, like with a drone, you can monetize as long as you have your FAR 107 license. With a paramotor, if it was solely for flight, I could see why you might be able to have an argument that you couldn't monetize on YouTube. But at the same time, you could argue, like if you were an attorney and you got the FAA sent you a letter that said that you owed them $10,000 because you broke FAR 103 for monetizing your videos, my attorney would say, he didn't break FAR 103. They're here for his artistry. They're here for the music selection. They're here for the cuts. They're here for his personality. I don't feel like the flying part is what you're getting paid for.
So an inevitable question is, what about aerial photography? If you were to take pictures in the course of that flight and then later sell the pictures, how would that fall?
So, for instance, I am a photographer. I was a professional photographer for 8 years. When I first got into the sport, I had a guy contact me and ask me to do some aerial photos for him. This is pre-drone life, right? Before drones were common. And I knew what the rules were. And I told him, I said, absolutely, I'll be happy to do photos for you. I cannot guarantee that I will do aerial photos, and you can pay me this rate to come take pictures. So I took pictures from the ground. And then I drove 5 miles down the road, found a spot on the side of the road, took off, flew over, took pictures, had my engine blow up, landed in the field next to the place. You know which one it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, the guy ended up paying me double and driving me back and giving me a cold beer. It was fantastic. But it's about how you present it. I have a gentleman who's an acquaintance of mine. We were friends. Great guy, Chris Pine. He's an airline pilot. He's also one of the most talented aerial photographers for landscape that I've ever seen. Like, truly, his artistry level. If you guys would like to see some incredible stuff, look up Christopher Pine. Not the actor. He's an airline pilot from Northern California. He has a Facebook group. I think it's called Paramotor Photography or something like that. Anyway, his work is gorgeous, and he refused to sell it. He said, I have an ATP. I have a 6-figure career. Why would I risk that with the FAA looking into me selling my prints? Because I tried to buy rights to some of his photos because I love them so much. In fact, our very first cover photo on Aviator's Facebook page is one of his photos. I think his Light Touch was his Facebook page for his photography. I don't recall.
There's Light Touch Film. That's Phil Russman.
Oh, that's Phil Russman. No, that's the wrong. Anyway, look up Chris Pine. It's just incredible. All right. Try to be a little easier finance-wise. Would you ever recommend someone to get a wing to begin kiting? Oh, sorry. Peyton Jones, do you ever recommend someone to get a wing to begin kiting and free flight if possible before buying the whole hog with the motor further down the line? Again, encouragement is get training and then make decisions on equipment. Out of hundreds and hundreds of students, dozens of which have bought their gear before they've come, 2 have kept their gear after they've left. 2. Almost everyone has realized they purchased the wrong thing, just like your experience on Craigslist.
Do not be like me. Do not do what I did. That was a mistake.
You're throwing money away.
Do not make that mistake.
Even with good research. Because, I mean, the motor you bought next, even with great research and reading articles in Cross Country Magazine and everything else, without talking to people who deal the equipment, without talking to other people who fly the equipment, you got screwed.
Royally screwed. The first motor, honestly, the first motor might have been better than the second motor. The first motor, that actually had a really great journey. I sold that to Jay. Jay sold it to someone else who now lives in a van and is maybe even flying it. So hopefully that motor's still out in the world. Or actually, hopefully not. I hope that thing is scrapped and never returns to the air. But
I don't blame you.
If it works for the guy, it works for the guy.
Speaking of which, if anyone knows Jay Bugada, it's Bugiada on Facebook.
Tell
and
him
you're
to text
watching,
me back.
You're watching right now. Tell him to text me back. It's only been 11 texts and 4 phone calls today, so tell him that he needs to text me right now.
Hi, Jay. Thanks for the wing.
Hi, Jay. This is me putting you on complete and total blast because this has been a long time coming, and I finally have everything arranged. And in addition to that, Aviator is looking for a couple of RVs, and RVs, not the airplane, camper trailers. If you have a camper trailer and you want a paramotor, a wing, you want training, you want something in trade, please send us a message or send us an email. We're anxious for a couple of paramotor, a couple of new trailers because we have instructors that need housing, and if Will moves here, he wants to live somewhere. So please contact us. I have a ton of paramotors for trade, and I would love to supply your flying dreams and have you convince your wife that this is a great idea because it costs you nothing. So contact us, please, because Jay's about to lose his chance.
Yeah. I think I might have misspoke. I didn't sell it to Jay. I sold it to somebody who lives on Long Island with Jay, and then Jay got it somehow, and then Jay sold it to someone else. And I don't know if it was Jay's. I don't think so, because I think he's been flying for a lot longer than me. But somebody showed up to training with that motor, and the instructor refused to have anything to do with it.
Well, that's how we are.
Yeah.
If you bring your gear here and it's not something that we know and trust, you're going to fly our gear until you graduate, and then we'll help you transition to
I would
yours.
have refused. I think maybe he put a prop and a carburetor on it and made it work. That thing had a lawnmower gas tank that I tie strapped on. So I don't think that thing was fit for the air anymore. The cage had been poorly welded back together after a crash. I think maybe I was talking with Mike, I believe his name is Empire or
Mike at Empire.
Uh-huh.
He's a
Mike at
poker
Empire.
professional. He's actually a pro poker player.
I talked with Mike at Empire. Tom at Olympic PPG. That's who I was talking to about sourcing a prop because the old prop had his name on it, and he's like, A, I don't even make those anymore, and B, the maximum size for is like 122. So it's like, I think that was the point where I was like, I'm not gonna bother with this thing.
That seems wise.
Yeah, it was bad.
All right, we got more questions coming in. Buzz and Baz or Buzz and Baz. I'm sorry, it's tough to read. It says, about what top speed would a Roadster 326 fly with all up 120 kilograms trims out? Depends on your density, altitude, and a lot of other factors. Honestly, you have to fly it and you have to test it. The max speed I've seen on a Roadster 3, at my weight, I was flying a 22 trimmed out, I think it was 36 miles an hour. No, I was flying 24. At that point, I was 185 pounds on a maybe 70 pounds of motor and fuel.
Mm-hmm.
It was 36, trimmed out and on bar. Brandon will trade me his teardrop for a Sirocco. Brandon, send me an email. If it makes sense, it makes sense. Eric Sheridan says he still has his gear he bought before training. Eric, you know what, brother? You deserve all the accolades in the world because he came here and he had a Scout. And he got so much crap because we're like, dude, you're going to break so much gear.
He bought a Scout for his first one?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, dude. That thing's like a cracker.
The man has rocked it. The man has rocked it. He lives in, I think, Kansas City. He has Google Fiber, I believe. So that's why I think it's Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
Eric's a super good dude. He trained with a bunch of other good dudes. We went to lots of dinners together. And Eric, you're the man. You're a freaking unicorn. 3 people. Okay, 3 people. MHB Jeep. I just upgraded to a Moster MY19. I want to put a smoke system on it. With the exhaust issues of the previous gen Mosters, I'm a little hesitant. I would be hesitant also. We have smoke systems on our MY19s. However, we have run them on 3-spring exhausts that we had from people upgrading. Simply because when you are putting yourself in a position with a smoke system where you have you're increasing the risk of resonance by adding anything to that and adding a hole to an exhaust that already has issues. The 4-spring exhaust, we've had 3 fail over quite a few people. Like, I don't remember how many motors we sold this year, but it's a lot. So we've had 3 fail. One of them here, which happened the day after we made the video. That was Kyle's unit, and Kyle's an acro pilot. He climbs, shuts down, does acro. So I believe it was probably due to shock cooling. So that makes sense to me, but it's something that you should be aware of. I mean, the Moster has a flawed exhaust as far as the fact that it's just not holding up the way we want it to. That said, it's smooth and it's powerful, and That's the only issue we're having. We're not having overheating issues. We're not having carbureting issues. We're not having quality control issues.
Airbox.
The airbox is an issue if it's not situated properly. However, they've added straps. We had 3 of them go through a prop when they first came out. Most of it was due to the ring not being locked in position. And in fact, this is something I'll announce here first. Friday, I'm filming a video that walks you guys through everything that's gone wrong with the Parajet and the Fly products, everything that we've seen issues with on the Atom, on the Moster. This will be basically an 8-month review of everything that can go wrong that we've had issues with and exactly how many we've had, so we can have total clarity with you all. Because to us, it's really important that you understand exactly what you can expect. And we also are going to talk some about an extended warranty through Aviator. We're working on the terms of that. Expect to have an announcement in the next 2 weeks. Because we're gonna do our best to be able to do more for all of you, because that's our goal. Josh Perry says, I'm in Joplin. Look forward to meeting you. Dude, Josh, I love Joplin. Great area. I hope you avoided all the crazy tornadoes. Brandon, like I say, send me an email. Let's see who else. Akbot says, Fletch said I better not give him that effing teardrop. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Manny Boy, can y'all do another show at the Chalet Suzanne? I'd love to do a show at the Chalet, my friend. My uncle owns it, and there's no internet to speak of there, so it'd be a little bit tougher. Slick Jimmy, big thanks to all of you at Aviator behind the scenes. Thank you so much, Jimmy. These guys are incredible. They really are. Let's see. Scroll down a little bit for me. Carbon fiber propeller versus woody propeller. Will.
Go big, Woody. I like carbon in basically every single way except for repairability, and even then, a repaired wood prop is very dangerous. Do not ever stand in the prop plane of a repaired wood prop.
And a prop plane is about 60 degrees forward and aft. So basically, don't stand within a mile of a repaired wood prop.
Yeah. If you got a clutch, the spin-up time on a carbon fiber, especially the right carbon fiber, I'm an E-props guy.
I am too.
If you go from a wood to a carbon, the world of difference is like incredible, because that carbon is the wood is so much heavier. It's got so much more rotational inertia that it's got to build up before it gets anywhere. Maybe on a very old school engine, the older direct drive ones where the prop creates a large flywheel effect, the extra weight of the wood maybe would be an advantage.
You increase thrust with weight, because it's inertia, right? Mm-hmm. However, and this is my personal experience, I had a same engine that blew up me the other time.
Yep. The same.
Flying back after a gust front, we landed out, gust front passed, took off, flew back. This is 7 years ago. And my brand new engine, less than 10 hours on it, the silencer, I guess that was older stock, it was rusted in the middle. The silencer came out, hit my wood prop, and took out my 4-hour-old wing.
Oops. 6
holes, 3 cells. Oh my gosh. I was so angry. I'm still angry about it. All right, I'm still salty.
That's unfortunate.
Because the company was like, okay, we'll give you a new silencer. You have to buy the prop and fix your own wing. And I was like, whoa. And then the next time I was at Indy Air Hogs. This is 3 years ago.
R.I.P. Indy Air Hogs.
R.I.P. I took my wife. It was crazy 3 years ago. I can't imagine it the size the sport is now.
Yeah.
Took my wife, where we park our rental car. We walk out to the field. I see Tim Gaskins, who I love, from the Bad Apples. Give him a big hug. And I hear this, wham! What was that? Guy on a Sky Cruiser with a mini plane top 80 on it. Mm-hmm. Had walked forward. It flexed. Took out his prop.
Oops.
It sent shards of wood prop over 80 yards away. The one that landed next to me was about 30 yards from where it happened. It impaled the mud. It was a shard about this long, about a 1/4 inch wide, maybe about a 1/2 inch wide in the middle. This long, and it sent it halfway into the mud. Stuck. It would have impaled me, right? Like, this was not like light mud. This was black tar mud, right? And it's stuck in the ground so far. I was like, so that's when I stopped flying wood props.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to have an incident, whether it's something falling off your motor or a mistake made, the inertia loss, like we own a flight school. We break props. We broke one prop last class, no props the previous 2 or 3, I don't recall exactly. But it breaks, and you see parts go everywhere, and they can hit the wing, they can slap you in the face, and chances are, because it's so light, you're not going to have an inertia issue where you're going to get someone hurt.
They come apart pretty good.
Yeah.
There's still, I think we may have gotten it. It was actually really funny. One of the times, Mike, if you're watching, one of the times he was over at my house watching me, he was like, "What's that over there on the ground?" And he walks over and picks it up, and it's a propeller piece from the one. Well, that propeller. Oh, geez. I did things to that no propeller should ever have to endure.
I've seen the pictures. I agree. And by the way, whatever that perversion is, it's a little weird for me.
Yeah.
You and Cubon, bro.
Yeah. Well, if you want a good sponsor, dude, Cubon, got it going on. I brought that propeller back to life at least 3 separate times, and then. Well, Cubon works great for like if there's maybe 2 centimeters of damage. If the prop is now this long, you're gonna need a lot of Cubon to do that.
Oh man! All right, Bruce Roca says I'll be taking the trike training. Question is Mojo or Roadster? I weigh 210, and the trike I intend to use is about 60 pounds with wing. Honestly, Bruce, my encouragement to you, brother, is to wait and see. Let's wait and see your skill, and let's wait and see your mission. The reason I say this is not a sales technique. It's because if you are a pilot who's going to take off, my dear friend John, who's probably watching right now. Hey, John Stidham, good to see you. John is a great guy, good pilot, and his mission is either flying around his ranch in Montana, where he might go 2 or 3 miles, or flying around the airport here going to Crooked Lake, 7-10 miles each way. He flies a Mojo, and he's thrilled with it. He doesn't need more speed. It's the safest wing he can fly. He's happy, right? That's a great choice for him. If your mission is you want to do some wing overs or you want to do some longer cross countries, the Roadster might be right for you. But seeing your skill and your mission, that's why we try to wait until after you finish training to make that sale, because we want to make sure you have the right wing. And the reality is, if you're an addict like me, you're going to end up with 7 wings. But the question is, which one is first? Okay, another question I saw shortly ago was, what do we think about electrics? Don't break the new computer. What do we think about electrics? The electric thing is coming, guys. We actually have a flying prototype electric that should be released soon. I hope to have it here in the next few weeks, and then we hope to have a production time around 60 to 90 days. So we're looking at announcement and release details in the next 2 months. It is a direct bolt-up replacement for the Moster 185. Has similar thrusts, about a 40-minute runtime at a low power setting. My expectation is actual flyability is 25 minutes at full power, kind of like playing around full power idle. We'll see, and it should be affordable. So that's coming soon. Jeff Dundas says, if you're buying a new rig and you only have the budget to buy one component new, which should it be, the wing, the frame, or the motor?
The wing, by far.
Interesting.
That's what I would say.
So Will says the wing. I say motor. Simply because if you're buying a motor, you don't know its history. A wing you can do an inspection and find out.
We were just talking about this earlier today, and I said basically exactly what you just said, but in reverse, because it is through inspection. I think the question was, why should I not buy a used wing? And I said, if you do, A, be careful who you buy that from,
right,
and B, get an inspection first. Especially, I mean, if you can look at the placard and it's like it was produced last month, like,
right, how much damage could they have done?
How much could they have done?
Right,
possibly.
It's tough for me. Like, I've seen so many people buy used motors that have been run too lean. I've told this story before. I'm not sure if I told it on the live stream. I had a past student who hadn't flown in a long time come out, and he was flying. He was flying a Nirvana Instinct 230, and he'd flown it about an hour, and then he came back and flew it again for about 30, 40 minutes, and then he had an engine out.
Right.
And Nirvana Instinct 230s don't generally overheat. It's a cool running motor. And he lands a mile out in the bush. We all had to bushwhack in. I didn't have to bushwhack in. I wasn't there. Everyone else bushwhacked in. It was my day off. And they bring him back. I get there, and we're like, your gas is green. What oil are you running? He goes, oil? I'm running 100 octane low lead. He's like, I
haven't changed the oil.
I haven't changed the oil. It's exactly what he said.
Exact quote.
He's like, I haven't changed the oil. And we said, it's a 2-stroke. You have to add oil. So this guy flew almost 2 hours without putting any oil in the fuel. So you don't know what someone's done to the motor. So unless you're buying from a reputable place that's still going to support it, like if you come to our school and you want to buy a motor from the school, like all of our Mavericks are 1 to 2 months old generally, right? And they're all for sale, and we save people a few $100 on each one because we want to help our students out. And like one of our last classes, he was flying an Eclipse, and he put like 17 hours on the Eclipse or something. I mean, it was 11.7. It was a ton of hours. Mm-hmm. And he got it for a couple $100 off. And he's like, I need a bigger disc. And I'm like, dude, you put all the hours on it.
Yeah.
You know? But that's if you have to know the history. And the wing is kind of the same way. But if you go to a reputable place, like you bought a used wing that you knew the history of.
Yep.
It's the wrong wing for you.
It was the wrong wing. Then I got another one. Basically, my take on it is if you are doing your due diligence as a responsible pilot and you are constantly keeping an outlanding in mind, the propensity of a motor to fail often is more of like a satisfaction issue. If you have a wing that the crap has been flown out of it and it's out of trim and it's porous, then that becomes more of a safety issue.
Right. That's actually very accurate.
Woody
I will agree with that.
Had that wing, that green one, I don't know what it was, but at the end it would not fly for crap.
I still have it in here, and it passed inspection beautifully if you want to fly it.
Really?
Maybe Woody just got worse.
doesn't surprise me. That is the wing that was in the infamous faceplant
Yes.
clip, the one that we're using for all of our training slides now as a do not do this. Yeah, that's a great video.
All right, guys, it has been 2.5 hours. This is my second 15-hour day in a row, and I know that Will has done the same. It has been a great show. I have to thank Nina and John for being behind the stream. You guys are awesome. Look at that. There they are, the beautiful people. If you're not watching this live, guys, or at least watching the video, you're missing out on at least half the show. To everyone who's been involved, thank you all very much. I'm going to give Mitch Briggs, Daily Shorts, and Andrew McReynolds. You guys are all going to win something from the stream. Please send us a message or an email. We'll send you either a buff or a hat or something. I'm going to take care of you guys. Thank you very much, truly, for being a part of this. It's truly a pleasure. Mitch asked if I live at Aviator or what, and do I ever sleep.